I'm watching Red Scare on Megyn Kelly here. I'm watching Red Scare on Megyn Kelly. They've gone full pro Trump. So they were always plants. They were always plants. There's a whole insidious MAGA thing that we're in Manhattan to sort of grapple with, I guess. Hey everybody, welcome to Thanksgiving week live with Scenes from My Life. Thank you for tuning in. I did want to mention I don't know how much into this I should get, just because I'm kind of walking on eggshells now. But my stream from last Thursday, I did 3.5 hours, got removed because of medical misinformation, supposedly, which I'm not really sure what they were referring to. It pisses me off because I read my election poetry. So there was like an hour poetry reading in it that was sort of like meant to be part of the historical record and a part of the archive. And so I got this message from YouTube shortly after I was finished live streaming. My stream was taken down because of, and I feel like I should talk about this because this is like an issue. I don't know if they've become more strict about it since the election, but it doesn't seem like it's entirely a coincidence per se. Like I said, it feels dangerous to even talk about it right now because I'm like, are they gonna fucking snipe me just for even talking about it? You know, like you're sort of dancing around. I do a lot of sarcastic jokes about. I had a whole thing about inner space where, you know how in inner space it's like Martin Short or Dennis Quaid's in this little capsule. But then it gives you like time code for where in the video there was, and it was at the very end of the video. It was 3 hours and 23 minutes in. So I easily could have just edited it out or muted it. But I click it and I don't even know what they were referring to. I used a term, I won't repeat the word, but it was not a medical word. It was about music. I was talking about songs that get stuck in your head or whatever. So it was not even referring to anything medical at all. So I was like, was it the Martin Short inner space jokes, or was it, I'm not going to repeat the word like I said because we've got like, it's just AI that's sort of scanning the fucking stream. And so I didn't really realize it at the time. I got the email right before I was about to go to bed at like 3:30 in the morning. And so I was just so incensed because I really wanted this live stream was kind of, they're all important. Not that people necessarily go back and watch the old ones. They're meant to have replay value, and they're meant to be perennial, timeless classics, of course. But this one in particular, it's like I read my whole election poetry sequence. It was like probably, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour or something. And there wasn't that many people watching it when it happened. I think a couple. But that's 3.5 hours of my life of hard work that just like. And so, okay, so I was a little incensed about it. So I got on it, and they make you take this test. I'm going to go into this, even though it's like maybe possibly controversial or dangerous. They get, so I didn't get like a strike, but they gave me like a warning, which I've gotten in the past. This is one reason why I never joke about that kind of stuff anymore, because it's like you don't want to piss off the algorithm gods and get on their bad side. We're just trying to feed you content. We're working for free. Don't make it harder. And so it wasn't anything that I said about any kind of was completely sarcastic and completely like a joke. In no way, shape, or form do I believe any kind of conspiracy type thinking. I talk about it on here as a sarcastic joke and just to investigate. You can't talk about the modern fucking mindset without talking about this shit. I mean, RFK is the fucking attorney general. Whether YouTube wants to, take my live stream down that five people might watch cumulatively because I was sarcastic about it. Um, but in no way, shape, or form was I trying to actually spread any kind of information at all regarding that stuff. Regarding, I'm not even going to say the word. I'm not even going to say the word, but we'll see if this gets through. We'll see if this doesn't get censored too. Um, when is Elon Musk going to buy YouTube and make it? The guy's just going to buy every goddamn thing. He bought the U.S. government. Yeah. So anyway, I would have happily edited that part out, muted it, cut the end of the video. So you go on and you take like this like, I don't even know, like training thing. It's almost like a harassment training or some kind of like. It reminded me of like when I applied for a job at like Target. They give you all these like ethics questions. Is this, I'm not even gonna say the words. Like I said, is this something you can do on YouTube? Is this ethical or is this not ethical? And so you have to go and answer these questions. And I did. I did it immediately. I'm happy to say I got a perfect score. Okay. I know I'm not behaving unethically on goddamn YouTube. Okay? I know that. I think. I mean, I'm definitely not spreading. I'm one of the probably the few fucking people trying to tell the truth. I'm not like fucking, a lot of this, they're the one, they should be banning fucking Andrew Schultz and Rogan. They should be, YouTube, if the podcasters decided the fucking election, then YouTube really has the levers of power. If I really do believe that there's a reason why there's this alt-right podcast sphere. They're all seeded, they're all fucking sponsored by Peter Thiel or whatever, PragerU. It's all dark money. That's why I'm not popular. Red Scare, I think the same thing. I think they got popular. They got a boost. You need like a signal boost to really get through. You need paid promotion. You need. That's how they make money. That's how fucking YouTube makes money. People pay them to be seen, just like fucking Facebook, just like Instagram. And so the right wing and Russia, I probably shouldn't talk about that either. They're dumping tons of money into this stuff, into shit like Theo Vaughn, Tim Dillon, Rogan, Andrew Schultz, Red Scare, even fucking Adam Friedland interviewing goddamn Rob Schneider. That's like a subtle dog whistle. I mean, he had Red Scare on. I think he dated them. It's like that's a subtle or not so subtle, like hint that it's like cooler to be right wing. It's cool. It's edgier to be like a Trumper. And so I did this fucking quiz real fast. Like I said, I got a perfect score. I know I do try to be ethical on YouTube. I do try to like the reason why I make fun of that stuff, it's satire, right? I mean, it's to protect it under free speech because it's goddamn satire. Not that the First Amendment really applies to YouTube per se. I just think it's interesting. I haven't gotten a warning since the pandemic. I think during the pandemic, I was probably talking about ignorant people on Facebook who were spreading this or that information about what was going on, and I was trying to debunk it. If anything, I'm trying to call bullshit. I'm helping YouTube. I'm a real human on here, applying like a real human opinion and like skepticism to these morons out there who, but at the same time, RFK Jr. is the fucking attorney general now, and like they weren't necessarily wrong. Let's not even get into that. Let's not even get into that. I know this is going to get banned. I can't do anything important on this episode because I know it's going to get taken down. I'm calling it right now. This is just, I'm muzzled. I'm getting muzzled because I'm speaking so much truth because of the right wing YouTube. Bruce Holiday, how you doing? You didn't catch my stream last Thursday, did you? It got taken down. I know that the algorithm is listening, the fucking closed captions, they're scrubbing the subtitles. I'm a political I'm a dangerous political radical. Yeah, so I took but you can only appeal once, which I didn't see that until I appealed it really fast because I was like, yeah, see, Bruce Holiday was looking for that. Are you hearing YouTube? You're fucking with my. Not that I have a huge audience or something. I met this guy in Washington Square Park. Supposedly he had like, it was either 50,000 or half a million Twitch followers, and his Twitch got taken down. He was this guy. He had been in the army or the navy or something. He was a nuclear physicist. He worked like in nuclear reactors in the bottom of the ship. He was like highly intelligent, but he was also like super damaged. I don't even know why. From his service maybe. But he had a fucking Twitch stream where he had like 50,000. It was a huge number of followers and it got taken down. Well, his Twitch stream, he literally just all he did was show like copyrighted content. So it kind of makes sense, but um I was not. It's just frustrating. It's frustrating because it's 3.5 hours. I remember it being a good stream. And so I appealed because I just thought, I didn't type in an argument for why I was appealing. I should have my it's just my stream got taken down last Thursday because I supposedly I was there was misinformation. Let's just say that. I don't want to talk about it too much in detail because I don't want this one to get taken down. Now I'm all fucking paranoid that like they're just gonna start like giving me strikes and shit. Like the worst thing that could possibly happen to me in my life would be my YouTube channel. Well, it'd be in the top 5 bad things that could happen to me, other than like obvious bad, tragic kind of stuff that could happen. For things that don't matter. Probably the worst thing that could happen to my professional artistic output would be to take if something happened to my God forbid, God forbid. What would we do? How would I get how would I get to speak to Bruce Holiday more than anybody in my family by times 10? Thank you for watching, by the way. I know you're in on it. So anyway, I've been staying away. I really do typically try to stay away from that stuff just because I know that YouTube, it's really like no tolerance. If you even go near any kind of like uh qu- misinformation type stuff. Like I said, I was doing it to make fun of people that believe that stuff, which you can't do because even if you're making fun of it, I mean, uh I think to some degree people look at the censorship. Elon Musk certainly look at the censorship on all these apps as like a reaction to Trump. It's like the powers that be at the social media felt like they had to in the pandemic. I mean, I shouldn't even mention the pandemic. Exactly. Where would Bruce Holiday's third space be? You're going to disenfranchise people that rely on this podcast for entertainment and and misinformation. How else am I going to spread my misinformation? No, I'm just kidding. Asterisk, sarcasm, sarcasm. YouTube censors, if you're listening, that was completely sarcastic. I believe Fauci. I believe the World Health Organization. I follow the guidelines. Dude, I stayed inside for a year and I didn't even talk to anybody for 2 years, basically. So I gave 2 years of my life. I don't need to be told I'm fucking spreading. I don't need my goddamn streams to be taken down, okay? I mean, ideally, YouTube is and would be in this sort of podcasting realm is like, an untainted spring of multiple points of view. I think kind of what's crazy about the internet, what it reveals is like just how nuts people are. And just like this, they'll believe the stupidest shit. And they'll kind of like congregate around this. Like, how many people believe that the world is flat now? Like, this is something that really was not even a legitimately discussed possibility. Like, it's just such a dumb, I mean, maybe I shouldn't even say that on YouTube, but it's like such a dumb hill to die on, like, that you believe that. It's like there's tons, and I think people look at Trump and his sort of basket of deplorables as it's almost like the gathering of the juggalos. It's a coalition of people that sort of just will, it's like but it's not that different than Bush. I think that's why we need to be realistic about Trump. It's like we've had politicians in the past that were, we probably should have been more afraid of. People should have had this reaction to Bush, but they were relatively chill about reelecting him. And now everybody has this revisionist opinion about Iraq and Cheney endorsed Kamala and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, yeah, they voted for him twice, just like they voted for fucking Trump twice. There's a lot of people that are willfully ignorant. That was what Bush was all about. It was all anti science, it was all truthiness. It was all like going with your gut, not believing. So, I guess the internet, it didn't invent this shit, but we're using it as a scapegoat or something. I don't know. Like, does doing this stuff really stop people from, I think it just tantalizes their interest. Anytime you like ban something, it's almost like giving it publicity. They go, "Wait a minute, what is that? Wait a minute, they don't want Trump to talk. What has he got to say? He must be saying something they don't want you to hear." Or they're trying to ban fucking Alex Jones. What's he? He's probably telling truth about the globalists and the aliens. Apparently, Elon. I think here's something I wanted to talk about. Maybe Kuzu Daddy is right about Kuzu Daddy's got this whole thing about Elon Musk's alien mask. He's alien mask, and Elon Musk literally said the other day that he's a shape-shifting alien. I didn't click the fucking headline. I think all of this shit is a distraction. If they can get people thinking about fucking aliens and Mars, then they won't think about taxing the billionaires. They'll just think about, oh, there's aliens in our government. The government's hiding the aliens. They know about the aliens. They got them at Area 51. I probably can't say any of this shit. This is definitely going to get banned. I'm spreading too much truth that the government is in contact. So it's like, but it's like, that's not, maybe, okay, that's a possibility, sure. But it's not really like a nuts and bolts way. It's like, until we actually see the truth of that, why don't we try to fix the fucking problems that we actually have with like things that we know empirically exist? Elon Musk can say he's on fucking ketamine. Of course he thinks an alien. Of course he thinks he's an alien. That's what it's for. The dude is heavily, heavily dissociated, and there's got to be some kind of checks and balances on his ass. The dude has too much fucking power. How it's I hate to talk about Alien Mask. He's a shape-shifting alien, apparently. He's like Denzel Washington in that movie where or what is that movie where the guy transfers his soul like from one person to the next? I don't know. That's what Elon Musk does, apparently. He's a shape-shifting alien. And he bought the United States government for $130 million. He's giving away millions of dollars to voters in Pennsylvania. It doesn't seem to matter. He's not a U.S. citizen. Or he might be a citizen, but he was an illegal alien. Deport Elon Musk, okay? That's my new passion project. That's my new cause. We need to deport this illegal immigrant, Elon Musk. He is a drain on our fucking resources. He gets too many government subsidies. And now they created a new bloated, it's more bureaucracy, people. Doge. It's just more bloated big government. They haven't even taken over the fucking presidency. They're already creating more fucking departments. It's just more government, everybody. I know that's why they voted for him, but the guy just has way too much power. I mean, owning Twitter, we're just accelerating towards this world where it's just like the ethics are if you have the money to buy something, like then you deserve to own it. There's nothing that should stand in your way. There's nothing that should, that's not a monopoly for Elon Musk to buy Twitter, and he's got a hand in SpaceX and Tesla and now the fucking government and who knows what other shit. It's going to affect our lives. The idea, a bunch of people who believe the earth is flat and that aliens exist think that he's a genius and that he's the next Nikola Tesla. I do think that people should pay attention to the fact that he was born and reared in an apartheid state. He lived in South Africa, I think, until 1995. That's a long fucking time. They had apartheid until like 1990. That means for most of his life, he grew up in segregation. That's pretty fucking formative, I would say. And it's just something that should be thought about in the scope of how much fucking power and authority that guy has. Bezos, same fucking thing with the Washington Post not making an endorsement. All these billionaires, they just understood that it's just way better for them to be pro-Trump, because I think for Elon Musk, it's as much about the deregulation. He's sick of getting these fines. He's sick of the government getting in his way with whatever the fuck he's trying to do with his rockets and his employees, whatever. But and they use woke politics as sort of like a way to distance themselves. Like Elon Musk used to be a Democrat. All these guys, that's their narrative. Oh, I used to be a Democrat. I like Bernie, or I was a center left or whatever. And it's the liberals who got, my daughter's trans. So it's like the Democratic Party's been taken over by extremists. It's like, that's just an excuse. I mean, they've always been fiscally conservative. They're libertarians. They don't want to pay taxes. They think that like the government just gets in the fucking way of like enterprising captain of industry, alpha male. I'm so fucking alpha. It's like this fucking government is like preventing me from like achieving fully realized looks maxing, Mog status. I need to like get a chin implant so I can mew. I like need to work on my chiseled jaw and shit. I mean, I was just watching this fucking interview, Megyn Kelly with Red Scare, right? Red Scare is Dime Square. They're basically like Sov House That's the culture in Manhattan now, right? It's these fucking MAGA, Trustafarian kids, trust fund kids. Um, we're waging battle in the clubs with in the club. Um, and I don't, they're all, the Victoria's Secret fashion show is back. She was talking about how Jaguar just had these fucking commercials. Jaguar has go woke, go broke, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I just hate. I mean, I first of all, I don't like the term woke. It's racist to even use the term woke, but there just is not a better word for what that is, unfortunately. But and I don't know, you guys have probably seen it. Jaguar, like, which is kind of crazy because Jaguar was this. I always liked Jaguars. They were always like this sexy kind of. They weren't James Bond car, right? But I don't know. They had a fucking Jaguar in the goddamn hood ornament. I don't know. I always liked. Maybe that's my toxic masculinity. What point is masculinity non-toxic? Can we make like Elmer's glue? Can we make like a non-toxic off brand of masculinity? Because that's what I feel like, like I've always tried, I don't think there's, I like being masculine. I'm not the most masculine person. I don't think I'd want to be. I think Gen Z falls into this trap of like this hyper masculinity, like with the big, like look at John Mulaney's chin and all these kind of like look smogging chads, whatever that face is, that like Instagram face with like the big fucking like Disney's Hercules jaw. Um, so Megan Kelly's talking about they're talking about this Jaguar ad. It's gone super. It's like everybody in the commercial is like androgynous. It's like bisexual lighting. I don't know who they think they're fucking uh uh target audience is. Like, who do they think they're going to sell fucking Jaguars to? It's like, I guess they've probably done some kind of market research that says their fucking audience are like woke millionaires or something. I don't know. I don't know. Podcasters or something. I don't fucking know. Um, I don't know who is buying a Jaguar. Who's like, is it, apparently, I don't know if this is true, but they were really, they were talking about trans culture and whatnot, and they were just saying that like a lot of the people that push trans culture are autogyna. I don't remember what the fuck autogynephiles or something. They're men who I, I don't know. It's Megan Kelly. She was on Fox News. She got humiliated by Trump during the debate, and yet the whole podcast are like fawning over Trump. The Red Scare chicks have like outed themselves as being like very pro Trump. They're not just like edge lords anymore. Now they're like MAGA faithful, Ebola Mein Führer. They're Illinois Nazis, is what they are. They've outed themselves as Illinois Nazis. That's what we're going to refer to MAGA people, as Illinois Nazis from now on. And I don't know. They're just talking about Megan Kelly's talking about she was working for some law firm when she was 25, and it was like a kill or be killed environment. She's like, that was very sexy to me. And she's like this blonde, Megan Kelly's one of these blonde kind of Fox News women who, I guess, I don't know, they're just like it's an old fashioned view of gender dynamics. It's like women are supposed to be these blonde bimbo, they like the sexual harassment. They're like, they're into it. She was into it. I mean, Trump owned her ass. That's why he made that bitch famous. Like Kanye and Taylor Swift. I mean, kinda. So I'm going back into my hyper masculinity here, everybody. Um, that's right. The cowboy hats are coming back out. And so Megan Kelly's talking about this firm she worked for when she was 25. She's like, all the guys, there were these hot guys, and they had these chiseled jaw lines. And if you were like a really good employee, your bonus was they give you a Jaguar. So she was just talking about this fantasy of like how the workplace used to be, this kind of hyper, I don't know, like Mad Men almost of the 90s, where it's like the men are all these like Don Draper, hyper chiseled jawline, but they were really like fulfilling their role. All right, love you, Ashley. Good night, Ashley. I'm talking about well, you don't care. Oh yeah, I got to talk about Arrested Development. We're definitely going to get into it. Ashley did not like Arrested Development, which is I hated it the first time I saw it, to be honest. I really yes, I'll see you tomorrow, Ashley, okay? Have fun at Lucienne. It's probably a big night tonight. Right? There's probably a lot of people out. The weather was not that bad when I went out, but I need to bring the quality content to the people. There's just too much to talk about. I'm rewatching Arrested Development for the first time in probably 15 or 20 years. Okay, Ashley, kisses. See you tomorrow. Happy Thanksgiving. Have fun at Lucien with all the MAGA, with all the Illinois Nazis. I'm sure Lucien is nothing but fucking Trumpers. You know, it's such a bizarre cocktail. In maybe not in Brooklyn so much. I mean, this is what happens when you just eliminate poor people. You just have rich people. And Arrested Development is a great show about this era, the new kind of Gilded Age in a way. There's something about these big, eccentric, psychologically deranged families that are, it's like a royal family. That's capitalism. That's when the wealth disparity, the ultra rich, there are these kind of like, I don't know, big proud family names and the Blues, the Bushes, the Trumps, uh, and this hyper, all of the, we'll get into that in a second, but I'm talking about Megan Kelly and her Jaguar. Yeah, and I don't know. So to some degree, I think it's just like they want to return, and Trump kind of indicates that, like this kind of '80s power lunch. And I don't know. There is a certain segment of the population that wants that. I guess and like what's wrong with being hot? Let's not body shame the hot people too. Okay, I get it. Let's not body shame fat people or short people or whatever. Let's not body shame anybody, but definitely don't body shame the hot people. Let's let them, and hot people still were in charge of everything. It's just, people who were traditionally ostracized used that as a power play to make other people feel bad. And so I think to some degree there is a little bit of payback. People are pissed that you know, nothing against trans people. And I think at this time we need to protect trans people more than ever, probably because they are in this new, like, visible position and they are just being used as like a political football, to be honest. That's not really fair, you know? Um, it's definitely not fair. For one thing, it's not that big of the population, you know? Once these people do need to be protected, but I think that's part of the this moment that we're in is a reaction against things like this Jaguar, or at least that's how this sort of burgeoning, people who the elderly millennials are aging into like Fox News boomers, and so there's going to be a certain amount of people who, uh, they're getting older. They don't want to pay taxes. They just want to be like hot, like Megan Kelly. It's and these chicks. It's like it's all about being some hot cunty blonde bitch at like the country club or something and like driving a BMW. They asked Megan Kelly, she's like, "Oh, my lease ran out, so I bought a new car, but I didn't buy a Jaguar. I used to want to buy a Jaguar because all these hot guys, it used to be associated with, prowess, the Jaguar. It's like it's like the coiled sexual power. It's like Sex Panther, right? I mean, that's basically what the Jaguar brand was. It was sort of like demure. It was sort of British. It was sort of James Bond, but there was also this kind of like purr, kind of like roar thing. It was sexy. I don't know. There's nothing wrong with being sexy. We need a return to hot sexiness, okay? And it's okay if women want to be girly girls and wear fucking silk stockings and pencil skirts and secretary outfits, office siren or whatever. It's okay. It's okay. I mean, men are a performance too. Masculinity is a performance too. But that's okay. There's a lot of discourse about this like return to like cultural conservatism that like presaged the Trump reelection. Shabuzi doing a country song or like Post Malone doing country. Trans discrimination. That's cool, Bruce Halliday. Yeah, the thing about the trans issue is I think people are sympathetic. People are not like trying to hate on these people. It's just like the way that it's being strong armed and kind of like it really is a highly politicized issue, and the Republicans are using it for that, and the Democrats completely take the bait. And they've kind of signed over. I mean, that was a point that they made that I think is true, is like now there's institutional capture, right? With wokeness, there's institutional capture where it's like all of the institutions like Jaguar or what, Bud Light, or what was it? What was the beer? Bud Light had like a fucking rainbow, or didn't they have like a trans they had like a trans flag on the fucking Bud Light or thing. And so people are like incensed. Go woke, go broke. It's like, well, that's just, to be honest, that's just racism to some degree. To some degree. But it's like you're also like kind of provoking these people by like the it just gets so much airtime and so much discussion, the bathrooms and the blah blah blah, and it's like we are tolerant, but now it's like, oh, they're gonna look at your little kids fucking private parts or whatever. It's like it really it's because it's just it's spun into this crazy crazy incendiary thing, and to be honest, I think that makes it probably more dangerous for trans people, which is not the point. The point is to make it safe and to make it, not make them like this political hot button thing that like, white feminists and white women feminists and autogynophiles or whatever. What is it? They said a lot of trans people are gay guys who want to sleep with straight guys or something. I mean, maybe this is okay. We were in Bushwick. I went to Bushwick the other night for this is gonna sound really fucked up probably, but what the hell? That's what's hard about this. It's like as a straight cis person, it's hard to even talk about without feeling like you're just committing a hate crime or something. Which is that makes it a hard, that's so it's like there's this reaction where it's like, well, fuck you, we're gonna go to country music or whatever. But so we go to Bushwick, and it's like we went out to this restaurant or this bar after, and there was this a, attractive female presenting person on a date. There was a few, frankly, in the bar, but like sitting kind of across from me, there was like, and they're on a date with this guy, and they're sort of looking at me, and I'm like, this chick's kind of looking at me like this kind of interesting. And then I realized like that's a trans female. And I'm like, that's cool and everything. That's great. Um, um, my point being, I don't know. I don't know. I won't even touch that. But um, it's, with YouTube, it's like ideally this would be a forum for like total, just, like think about Howard Stern in the fucking 90s or something. The shit that that guy did and said on the fucking public airwaves. I mean, he got a lot of fines and shit later on, but that was kind of his power, right? Was like full disclosure and kind of saying the shit um that other people are too afraid to say, or if you're trying to do the right thing, you're not going to say. But yeah, so anyway, you know, not to be a turf, I mean, it's just one of those things, and it's interesting to see the Jaguar campaign go that way. But yeah, I think on the whole, people want to be tolerant and people want to be accepting, and like people are not like there's this shouldn't exist. But it's another thing when it's like you want to mutilate my child's genitals. That's just like taking the fucking rhetoric so far, which is just that's what the Republicans do to the issue. It's like we want to ban all these books in schools and ban drag queens from reading to our children. It's like, well, is this like a fucking epidemic? Is there like all these drag queens that are out there like reading to children? Like, not that I'm aware of. Um, yeah, anyway, so we watched Arrested Development. Have people seen the show? It came out, I think it started airing in 2003. Like I said, when I first started watching it, what did kind of inspire me? Because to be honest, I don't know if it's really even watched that much anymore. Actually, when it came out, that show felt like it definitely changed television. It definitely changed television comedy in a big, big way. I think you can point to Arrested Development as like the beginning of all of the Modern Family, yeah, there were a few comedies that came out at that time. Obviously, The Office, The British Office, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and Arrested Development. But um, when it first was on, I mean, it was just like this show was kind of the undisputed. I mean, I think for millennials particularly, Arrested Development was like a crucial, formative part of like their identities. Stuff white people like, and I don't know. There's just so much hipster kind of culture that come out of like Tobias Funke, Never Knew those. I think it started cutoffs pretty much as like this hipster like sex status symbol thing. Wearing cutoff jeans became like the de rigueur kind of like hipster summer hot outfit. There's something like kind of like randy and like suggestive about cutoffs, like the mullet. It's kind of like, ooh, what do you got going on? I don't know why the fucking cutoffs were such a like seminal hipster fashion. I hated them, to be honest. I really hated when everybody started wearing cutoffs. I don't own a pair of cutoffs. I never really wore cutoffs ever. Just another thing that differentiates me from the typical millennial. Does JD Vance wear cutoffs? Is there any photographs of JD Vance in cutoffs? Can we get AI to generate that for us? Can somebody AI generate some JD Vance in cutoffs? I guarantee you, JD Vance watched Arrested Development. I guarantee it. He's probably a fan of the show. Um, but my friend, uh, who is a crypto bro who's super into Elon Musk, he loved it. He was like super stoked about the show. And I heard, when it was on, it got really good buzz. Everybody was saying, like, because it was just like it was chaos what Fox did to that show when it was on. I mean, they moved it all over the schedule, and they cut the order, and was it going to get renewed? Was it not going to get renewed? Like they left them hanging, and like so it was always kind of like this chaotic thing where it was like, what fucking night is it on? What's it after? Where are we? And to be honest, I mean, it was really it was long before streaming, right? 2003 through 2005 or 6, I think, was when it was on. And I mean, at that point, there was like DVDs, right? Like you could get like a season of television on the DVD, but like even that was like you had to fucking buy it, or you know it wasn't like now where it's just like you go on the internet and watch literally every episode of any fucking show you've ever wanted to see immediately. Like, it, so, but that show was really designed, even though I don't know if they knew it at the time, for streaming. Because it's like The Simpsons, where it's just so fucking dense. There's so many jokes coming at you. Every 2 seconds there's another joke, and there's a lot of visual humor. There's a lot of like silent movie type gags. There's a lot of like big Seinfeld kind of like surrealists, kind of like tie everything together into these kind of absurd set piece things. And it's super, super, super dense, considering those episodes are all 20 minutes basically with the credits. It's like there's so much fucking story. There's so many characters. That was one of the things that I would say I really keyed into, and one of the things that even to this day I would say was like a big influence on me was just like how they pack all that narrative into that in that grand sense of scale. It's like this grand family. They're rich, they're fucking selling houses in Iraq. But then it's like, and there's all this fucking story, and yet, boom, they shrink it into these 20-minute kind of like rapid fire. Honestly, it kind of reminded me of Family Guy, even though I was never really a Family Guy fan. Like all of everything is a cutaway. Every fucking thing in that show is a goddamn. The narrator says something, and then they cut to some joke about whatever the fuck they're talking about. I mean, The Simpsons has cutaways, but like Family Guy, the whole fucking show is just like. So it almost felt like a live action, So you got to understand. I mean, Gen Z, I don't know if they really can tap into this show because they weren't right. You watch it today, it doesn't seem that impressive. You're just like, there's a million, there's Parks and Rec, there's fucking The Office, there's Modern Family, there's a million shows that have kind of used this formula of like fake documentary, multiple camera. I guess the big idea with Arrested Development was they were taking reality show techniques and using it to create um a new kind of sitcom. Basically, they were basically telling a sitcom story. It would be fun if they did an Arrested Development episode that was like a classic sitcom, like one set, but just use those same actors, same characters, but just do like a multicam, 3 act. Arrested Development is so fragmented, and so as a young, trying to make films, that's one of the things that really was influential about it to me. Was it was low budget. There was no lighting. It's all natural lighting. It's all on location. It's all digital cameras. It was the first sitcom in HD. It was the first digital sitcom. Everything before Arrested Development was SD. Arrested Development was the first like digital HD sitcom. And so it was similar to the ways that I was trying to produce my movies, right? It's like you're trying to create all this story, but it's like you're just shooting on the fly, and you don't have any lights. You're using digital cameras. I mean, that was the other thing with that era is like when it shifted to, I mean, if you look at something like Pete and Pete, right? Like that show is clearly shot on film. That's expensive. It has to be carefully scripted. Every moment kind of has to lead into the next and be pre-planned and executed. With digital, it's like it's not as expensive. You're not refilling camera magazines every 10 minutes. You're not reloading and developing and sending it. It's like it's immediate and you can just shoot and shoot and shoot. There's no real limit to how much time you have in the camera. So it lends itself to stuff like reality television where it's like just fucking film a bunch of people in a house, just run fucking cameras and film them, talking about it and then figure out what your story is. Um, that was you began to for me as a young, theater person and writer and actor and shit, you started to see like, okay, there's a new we can improvise, like there's a new way that we can approach making films because of things like YouTube, things like digital, things like iMovie, Final Cut, whatever the fuck it is, mini DV, MP4, I mean, Seinfeld was probably one of the first comedies to start doing season long storylines, but that was even unusual. Like Jason Alexander talks about when Larry David brought in the idea to do a season arc. Jason, he thought he was nuts. He thought, people will never, because the means of distribution, right? At that time, that was the best they could do. Seinfeld's on once a week. That's the only time you're gonna fucking see it, unless you tape it and watch it again, but it's like you're probably not going to do that. There wasn't even fucking DVR or anything. There wasn't on demand. It was like you see shit when it airs, or you get the fucking VHS. So it's like you couldn't really have, yeah, Mad Men, exactly. The sponsors and shit were afraid to have dense, and that's why they canceled Arrested Development. They were just like, the audience can't follow this. There's too much storyline. There's too many throwback jokes. And to be honest, I mean, watching it now, it is kind of confusing. There is kind of too much. Like there in certain ways, I think it's aged very well, and in other ways, not so much. Like, even though that show was cheap and they shot it kind of like on the fly, they could have made it look better than they did. I think that's part of the point. Is it's meant to look like a reality show in a way that's like I don't really think is that important. Like The Office and Parks and Rec and shit are like that too, where it's like the conceit is like it's a documentary film crew that's like filming these people. But it's like nobody really gives a fuck about that. Like we see the style and we appreciate and we get it, but it's like they could have thrown some more stuff into Arrested Development to make it look a little nicer. It's just like the aesthetic. There's certain aesthetic choices, like the music. I don't love the music, or like like the menu design and like the whole like graphic design of like the orange. I don't really love Ron Howard as the narrator. I think his voice. I don't know. I think they could have gotten somebody else to do that. Actually, he does the job, and he's become like a meme. Like certain like Arrested Development jokes, narrator jokes have become like memes. Like he wasn't. The character will say, "I'm going to do something," and then Ron Howard goes, "He wasn't," or whatever, whatever. But it's like that show could have had a little. It could have been a little more aesthetic. I think they didn't really, like they thought about the visual and the technique and stuff, but they could have thrown a little bit of. I mean, even on fucking reality shows and shit, they have like establishing shots. They have a little bit of B-roll that kind of like ups the kind of cinematic value. With Arrested Development, a lot of stuff is blown out. A lot of it is like very washy and kind of like just very like wash rag looking. It's all kind of like grayish white, blown out backgrounds, and that's just how the digital cameras at the time looked, I guess. A lot of my movies look like that, and I was very influenced. I was writing like a screenplay. I had like this like I don't know, for some reason that idea was very enticing in that era, right? Arrested Development was almost like a TV version of Royal Tenenbaums, where it was like, let's take this big kind of like glass family, like Salinger glass family thing, right? This sort of and we'll have a narrator and we'll give it this kind of literary affect, where like the narrator is kind of like what makes it so they can pack all of this, like Royal Tenenbaums, right? Has Alec Baldwin, it's got the words on the screen. So to some degree, Arrested Development was kind of, it was following in the footsteps of that a little bit. And so I had this screenplay that I was working on that was sort of an Arrested Development ripoff, to be honest. And I had this fictional family called the Coffee family, because my dad's family's one of the family names is Coffee, and I just thought that was going to be like my Glass family. And there was going to be a guy, Ethan Coffee was like a trumpet player, and he won like the MacArthur grant, and he spent it all on drugs. And then it was going to be like sort of, there was going to be like a family of and the family was like uh but it was just I don't know, like Arrested Development as a writer, it kind of inspired you to kind of like try to tackle, and I still think that's kind of, I mean, right, I mean, now more than ever, I think this is one of the other things that needs to be talked about, is like the big family thing. I mean, it's the Trumps, right? Like at the time that show was made about the Bushes, there's so many jokes about Iraq. I mean, the whole fucking show, to be honest, in a way, is like the most brilliant satire of Iraq. I mean, it's so on the fucking money. It's the writing is just so fucking sharp on that goddamn show. There's jokes that I still think about because they're just so accurate in critiquing what was going on in a way that just nobody, at least not in fucking comedy world, or like sort of like, millennial middle brow consumer culture was. Like to me, Arrested Development still feels more like a movie. It still feels more like, I don't know, like almost some kind of weird, like chopped internet movie. The episodes are so quick, and there's so much that happens, and the scenes are so short that it's like you could put the whole fucking thing on TikTok probably. Um, but it also has this epic, and one of the things that I would say is really prescient about it is the characters are sort of like queer, or I don't know, like they're all kind of like going through their, like Tobias has got his never nude thing, and he's obviously kind of like a repressed. They all have like Freudian. The whole fucking show is Freudian. It's all about, you know, uh, what's Portia de Rossi's character? She's like obsessed. She needs attention from men because of daddy issues, right? That's why she wears like the slut shirt. And Tobias Funke is clearly like probably a repressed homosexual. And it's, Buster he's got mommy issues. He's got the worst mommy issue. It's sort of a joke about mommy issues. The whole half the fucking show is about people who are, half the jokes are gay jokes. Tobias is gay, and he's constantly making these like Freudian kind of unconscious divulgences of his true status, but he's in denial, but everybody else can see it. The cousins are in love with each other. So there's just all this fucked up sexual stuff, incest, ball gags. Their lawyer, Henry Winkler, is like into fucking all kind of weird sex stuff. He's a, what do they call, he's into transvestite prostitutes. What's his name? Cornballer or whatever. No, I can't remember. Henry Winkler as the lawyer. The show has all these Happy Days kind of, it kind of pays homage to like classic television stuff. I thought that was kind of cool, like having Ron Howard on it. They do a lot of Happy Days jokes or like Andy Griffith jokes. So it's not so hip that it just like, doesn't know anything about TV history. It still kind of has, it's such an LA show. It really does feel like an accurate show about rich people. Like whoever made that show had to have been rich, or like they just knew what rich life is like. Like there's a lot of jokes. Like the characters don't know how much a banana costs, right? Lucille, you got to give shout out to Jessica Walter. She's incredible. Of Play Misty for Me. It's a banana, Michael. How much could it cost? $10? That's like a meme now. But it's like it's so that the show has just gotten more fucking true, right? Like it could just as well be about the Trumps, right? It might even be more accurate if you look at it as being about the Trumps in a way. They're real estate developers. They build all this shitty real estate. They're sort of in cahoots with like the enemy in the same way that like Trump is like maybe, he's building hotels and shit in like, Saudi Arabia. They want to build condos on Gaza. That's basically the same thing that Arrested Development is about. It's like this is not a new story, actually. These big, wealthy, kind of aristocratic, famous families, the Bluths, the Bushes, the Trumps. They're big, they're fucked up. They have, there's weird, dark history. There's family secrets. There's people trying to protect each other from going to jail. Fucking George Sr. is in and out of jail. He's got it's just like fucking Trump. Do they have a Mar-a-Lago? They needed some kind of like Mar-a-Lago. Well, so apparently they did a new season in like 2018, which I'm sure probably has more specific, explicit references to Trump. I haven't seen it. I can't imagine the later seasons are good. The one that they did in like 2013 or whatever, Netflix just like gave them kind of a blank check to resurrect the thing that everybody wanted but didn't think was going to happen. I did not watch it because it was like it said they split all the characters into like the whole magic of the show is it was like taking what the later seasons of Seinfeld did and then advancing it. There's that Frogger episode of Seinfeld where George like moves the Frogger game. Arrested Development's got tons of shit that's like that. All those like later episodes of Seinfeld that are super fast. They're all these setups. They're very cinematic. Arrested and they're surrealist, kind of absurdist set pieces that kind of play the game of the scene. That's something we learned in UCB classes. The game of the scene. And like the banana stand, right? There's always money in the banana stand. The banana stand, like the giant banana peel, the game of the scene being like he's dressed as a banana, so he throws. What is the logic of that? If he throws his costume off, it's like, of course, somebody's going to slip on it. Even though it's a giant banana peel from like a banana peel costume. So, it was just like very advanced comedy. It used a lot of different kinds of comedy. You could tell the people who made it were like students of comedy. Martin Mull is in it. Dave Thomas is in it. Martin Short. Uh, Dick Van Patten. Scott Baio. The greats. So it's kind of more pertinent than ever. I would encourage people to watch it. But like I said, it doesn't seem quite as impressive. If you watch it now, I guess if you were born in the year 2000, and like you grew up watching shit like that, you're not accustomed to watching three camera sitcoms, right? You're used to watching digital video. You're used to watching fucking camera videos and shit, from your phone. It's like if you're used to watching like fucking TikTok, then looking at Arrested Development, it's just gonna look like, okay, so what? Um, but I mean, David Cross is like so goddamn funny. Every fucking scene David Cross is in. I wasn't quite into the Mrs. Featherbottom thing. That's like the Mrs. Doubtfire. That kind of held him back, I think. But just David Cross, I don't know. I think he represents, I don't know, kind of, and Buster, of course. Buster, I guess, is sort of like making fun of grad students. The idea, I guess, is just like it's various ways of making fun of rich people. The different siblings. Job is like the kind of playboy, lives on a boat. He's not really competent in anything. He's like, he just kind of likes the easy life. Buster is like they're all Arrested Development, right? Because their parents don't want them to develop. Their parents kind of hold them down. They're kind of arrested by their whatever their issues are. But Buster, I mean, literally, he's the baby of the family. So his mom kind of keeps him injured. So she has something to be needed. She has a reason to be needed and something to control. Um, but he's also kind of making fun of like grad student. He's got all these useless kind of degrees, and he doesn't really know anything. He's not really competent. He's just super kind of like a man baby. He's mother boy. And then Lindsay is her name. She's like, the slutty. She's got daddy issues, but she's also like she goes for every charity kind of cause. She can't hold on to a man. She can't get any kind of man to be into her at all. She's throwing herself at men constantly, and they're just kind of like, what the fuck? She doesn't really have any ethics or principles. It's all just like the characters are constantly motivated by like, oh, this character, they want me to do this, so now I'm going to do the opposite. Mom wants me to do this, and so, well, you know what? I'm going to do the opposite now, just to spite her. Which, to be honest, there's a lot of truth in the show. I mean, it's not the most deep show. There's a lot of depth to like, there's a lot of jokes, and like they definitely thought out why the characters are the backstory. You can tell that there's like a definite backstory underlying everything. My smoke eater, yeah, I need a smoke eater. My carcinogenic spewing smoke eater. Was that the one? Was the smoke eater? Was that the one that they took down? God damn it. The big government, now that Trump's back in control. Now that Trump's back in control, they're fucking censoring my YouTube again. God, look at this place. Apparently Biden's going to cause World War III on his way out. That's what people are thinking. He's just like willy-nilly kind of approving all these like long-range missiles. Apparently the UK and France are like maybe going to send troops to the Ukraine. But then Israel negotiated this ceasefire. They could have done that at any fucking time, right? All they had to do was stop. It's just now they want to do it because Trump is back in control, so it makes it look like he's the fucking good guy. They don't want to stop. They're going to keep doing what they're doing. They'll find another way to do it. But I was just at the everyday grocery, and the lady there was telling me, I forget what this food is called, but it's Ukrainian. So every couple months, there's like a new lady that like works in this grocery store, and they barely speak English. Like they're coming from the Ukraine, you know. They're coming over here probably because their fucking country is, it's crazy what's going on over there. So who knows? Who knows what the fuck is going to happen? We're all at the mercy of the mutually assured destruction. That's why we have to get on YouTube and live stream our dicks off before it's too late. We got to speak our truth. Or it may already be too late. I mean, we reelected Trump, and fucking people are stoked about it. The Red Scare chicks are out of the closet. They love the bastard. I saw a clip. They're like they're begging him to get on their podcast. He's like their dream guest. But I don't buy it. I don't think it's the edgy thing to do. It's just obvious at this point. We did this once already. It's old. It's stale. But I get it's like Arrested Development. It comes back. It got renewed. People never thought it would come back, but we're living in. Maybe I should read the poetry. Well, now I'm afraid that this fucking stream's gonna get banned. So I am gonna read this poetry again because it does deserve to be a part of my fucking online archive, my living archive. That's right. They outlawed journalism, real journalism. If you're fucking Andrew Callahan, you're good to go. He can interview any dumbass. I do think Andrew Callahan. This is just like indicative of the media in general, and this is like how topsy turvy the narrative is. Is like it's it's like a false equivalency. It's like he gave so much airtime to Jill Stein, right? Which I guess is good, but he just lets people talk, and he lets crazy people talk, and you get to see like he did a whole thing with QAnon shaman, right? As a way of sort of like humanizing the QAnon shaman. And maybe that was good. I don't really remember what the fucking real story was, but it's like he gives it like our whole culture, like it gives those people more sympathy, right? Like they're the ones that are getting beat up. Trump is the one that's very unfairly treated. It's like, oh, if you're a Trumper, it's like everybody's so mean to you. You can't admit it. You get fired, or people won't talk to you, they won't date you, women won't date you. That's how women should protest, okay? You want to protest, don't 4B, okay? Don't stop fucking men. Stop fucking Republicans, okay? You want to get back at these guys, stop fucking Republicans, okay? Have sex with somebody who voted Democrat, okay? Incentivize, right? Incentivize. It's the economics 101, okay? You have to incentivize the behavior you want. You want people to vote Democrat. Have sex with people that vote Democrat, you know? Everybody's, or I don't know, make your OnlyFans free to Democrats or something. Is OnlyFans still a viable career choice? I mean, in the Trump world, it'll probably be one of the celebrated. It's like, yeah, more women need to sell their bodies and sexualize themselves. Let's make America hot again. Let's objectify America again. Put that Victoria's Secret fashion show back on. Get those anorexics back on. God damn it. We need to get back to that toxic body standards. What the hell? We've let ourselves go as a country. I don't know. what the hell are people thinking? Is this true? It's all bullshit. I just think it's all there's some people, I guess, that are like finding comfort in the MAGA thing. It's like they were probably always fucking they're Fox News kids. A bunch of trust funds in New York City. It's like, of course they're fucking Republicans. It's like they're rich. Rich people are Republicans. It makes sense for them to be Republicans because they get to keep all their fucking money. Like, if you're voting for Trump, you know what you're voting for. You're going to get a huge fucking tax cut if you're rich. It makes sense for rich people to vote for that. It doesn't make any fucking sense for anybody else to vote for them. I'm not exactly sure what Matt Taibbi's deal is. Apparently he was like he's been sort of pro Russia, or I don't know. He's not the liberal, Rolling Stone reporter that he's not really being pigeonholed. He's had some, I think he had some kind of anti pandemic type of point of view. I don't remember exactly what his like dissonance with the unified left was, but I never really read Matt Taibbi. I remember people talking about he's the new Hunter S. Thompson and shit because he wrote for Rolling Stone. But to be honest, I never really tuned that much into what he did. But apparently Rolling Stone magazine is still influential. I mean, he's got a fucking podcast. He's probably like, I think he was sort of like, he falls sort of in a right wing place like a lot of these people do. It's like he I think he's sort of pro Russia on that front, and like I think he was sort of anti lockdown, and he might even be sort of pro Trump. I don't know. Let's check it out. I don't really know anything about Matt Taibbi at all. Let's see what the newest shit about him is. He's got a Substack. He probably fucking Matt Taibbi, how to fight back against the censors. Yeah, so I keep seeing the free press. The free press keeps. Bill Maher said he likes the free press. So it's like, I don't know what the fucking free press sort of represents. They're like, I don't know, anti-woke, Jewish led. So they're probably not. That's probably one of the reasons why they're anti-woke, because a lot of the woke people are pro-Palestine and they're very vocal about it. And Bari Weiss, insane clown president. Okay. Well, when was that? Because a lot of people have changed their minds about Trump. That's the other thing. It's like these Red Scare chicks, you know, she says like she was always sort of a quiet Trumper, whereas like now they've sort of come out and they're vocal about it. Anybody who listens to them, that's why you're always suspicious. That's why they feel like plants to me. It's like they got these two hot chicks that are sort of like well spoken, like fembots who like are very obviously well educated, like in the most annoying way. This is one of the things that I'm like sick about New York. Like I had this conversation with this guy last night who just like kept pushing all these like theory names on me. It's like, dude, just because you're dropping a bunch of theory on me doesn't mean you know anything. I'm sick of people just like throwing around Roland Barthes like it fucking means something. It's like, that's not an excuse. Like, okay, what I do, might not be like the most like rigorous, rhetorical fucking, like I didn't go to some fucking Ivy League school and defend my dissertation. I'm just pulling this out of my ass. And it's not substantiated by facts. I do the weave, okay? I do the Trump method, okay? I do the weave. Hey, give credit where credit's due. It's like he's a live performer. America's loss of trust in media can't be fixed. Media is obsessed with social judgment instead of fair reporting. Yeah, so he's probably kind of anti-woke, I would guess. He seems obsessed with free speech. Left wingers for so he is anti-Trump. Left wingers for Trump remain deeply confused. Um, yeah, it's like they got these two. Okay, so I was talking to this guy last night, and this conversation was just so annoying because the guy wasn't really like I said, he was just name dropping a bunch of fucking when I did that, he responded. And this is a common thing with people who go to these kind of elite fucking schools who have these sort of like avant-garde educations, places like I don't even know, fucking the New School or Bard or who the fuck knows, Columbia, Pratt, Matt Taibbi was called in front of the Senate. I'm going to look it up in just 1 minute. I've got Matt Taibbi's Wikipedia article open. Apparently, he's a huge part of our democracy. Well, I definitely have heard the name for years. My friends have mentioned him as sort of like a good writer that people should read on the left during the Bush years. So anyway, this guy, we were talking about, I don't know how we got into the conversation, but we were talking about the difference between poetry and film. I was just sort of talking about my mutual interest. I'm interested in a lot of goddamn things, but somehow, those were the two things I guess I've been dwelling on recently as sort of like potential careers, I guess. Even though it's ridiculous either way, but so he was sort of trying to get me to like rhetorically convince him uh why. I guess I sort of said something about I chose poetry because poetry seemed like more I mean there's a lot of reasons, but it felt like more like I to some degree I think filmmaking is like zombification. I think all of the video, the thing about reading and literacy, and once again I failed to convince this guy because he made it like this like challenge where it's like, okay, I gotta convince you that like by writing poetry, for me, okay, to simplify it, writing poetry, the audience has to be an active listener, right? um so meaning they have to work to create an image in their own mind of whatever you're saying. They have to work to comprehend it. Whereas, like with a film, it's like a medium is the message thing, right? It's like whatever the medium is doing to you is almost more important than the content, right? That's like and so I told that guy this, right? I go, the medium is the message, and he goes, oh, that's when he like perked up when I like mentioned some kind of like fucking stupid academic theory shit. But I do love McLuhan, and I've read a lot of McLuhan actually because it's one of the things that made sense to me. I've read fucking Roland Barthes. I've read fucking we talked about the Situationists. I'm really into fucking Guy Debord. I've read I've tried to read what of this stuff I have had access to. I never fucking heard of any of it until about 10 years ago. To me, to some degree, this is a class issue, right? Poor people don't read this shit. They don't know. They can't. Poor people are illiterate. They went to some kind of charter school that miseducated them. They don't know how to read. They don't know how to read anything. Not all poor people, all right? I'm obviously generalizing, but um, if you go to fucking Columbia or you go to fucking, Brown, or I don't even know, whatever it is, uh, if you're in those kind of like, and most of those people are rich, they're like Buster Bluth. They're the kind of people whose parents can afford to spend $80,000 a fucking year on grad school in, some kind of avant-garde obscure subject matter, poetry or theory or whatever the fuck that even is. I don't even know what major that would be. The death of the author. Have you heard of the death of the author? So it's just like, okay, you just want me to throw a bunch of fucking names at you. Oh, it's like Roland Barthes, the death of the author. It's like Walter Benjamin, the age of art and in the age of mechanical reproduction. Have you read Benjamin? It's like I've read this shit. I get it. But it's like I use the stuff that feels like it applies. And McLuhan is one of those things. And once again, in like a philosophical debate, maybe I didn't prove my point about the difference between what a video is and what a fucking poem is. A film and a poem, but it's like, or what are the definitive kind of like innate differences between those things that make it like I do. And to be honest, I don't do one or the other. I do all of it. That's part of the point, is that it is all the same in a way. But sitting down and reading a fucking book is different physiologically than putting on a fucking laptop and watching a movie in a way. Michael McClure has this thing about the cathode gun, and television kind of obliterates your third eye. It obliterates your inner vision and kind of replaces it. That's why television is so powerful. That's why the image is so powerful, right? We got into the society of spectacle, which to me, okay, it may have always existed. We may have always lived in a culture of spectacle, but like the age of mechanical reproduction has made the spectacle like overpowering, right? Maybe that's something that can't be proven. Maybe we are just living in the new version of something that's always existed. But I think Guy Debord definitely was talking about modern society, not just like necessarily universal things that had happened from all time. But I don't know. I mean, maybe literacy is, to me, it's like you anybody can put a fucking movie on and watch it. Whereas like, you know, apparently there's a large percent of the population, you put a book in their hands, they can't, it's useless to them. You know, that's a difference to me. And so with reading poetry out loud is one of the oldest fucking things that exists. It's probably one of the basic human activities and has been probably for thousands of fucking years. Whereas filming a movie and being able to project an exact reproduction of a sequence in time is a relatively new advance. And yeah, you use your imagination when you're reading. There you go. The movie fills in your imagination. But this guy would have just said, "Well, but no, it doesn't. You don't use your imagination when you're watching a movie." It's like everything I said. It was like, "Oh, well, you don't do that when you're reading." It's like, to me, it is kind of as simple as like the medium is the message. The mediums are doing different things. McLuhan writes a lot about that. Like radio, it's an audio thing. Visuals, it's your eyes. It's like, so it's, when you're hearing poetry out loud, it's different than reading an encrypted so it's like there's an active experience reading a novel or something that is different than, and to me, to some degree, I do poetry for one thing because I feel like it just allows me to be more detailed about my inner world and more specific and more original. And it's just like it's a way of being more alive, right? If I'm just like zombieing out and accepting and just watching other people's images and seeing this sort of like mediated version of the world, like you said, you're not using your imagination. It's just like you're being given the image. With Shakespeare, you have to see. And the guy was like, well, you can't. He mentioned some fucking Romeo and Juliet quote. He's like, you couldn't film that in a movie? Two lips like pilgrims? You could that could be a film. It's like, it's just different. It's just different if you hear it, if you read it, or if you saw a fucking image of that was like a literal, it wouldn't work as well, right? With the metaphor with poetry, part of the point of poetry is there's sort of a difficulty, right? Poetry is like, there you go. The Exorcist book was more scary than the movie to me. I read it while at sea. See, there you go. Because yeah, it's getting inside you. You're imagining it. So even now, I'm probably being unconvincing about the differences. But to me, it has something to do with activity versus passivity or something. And it's part of the crisis that we're going through, right? People are losing their critical thinking skills. People are losing their literacy. Literacy is a part of that. Being able reading a poem is like a mental exercise where it's like the difficulty, and this that's not to say a movie can't be difficult. A movie can be difficult, but like you know, this book is not automated, right? If you don't read the motherfucker, your mind is the engine, you know? A movie will play whether or not you fucking uh want it to. You just press play, it's automated, right? So to some degree, that in and of itself is kind of putting you in this uh passive state. I mean, you have to be active to watch the goddamn thing, I guess, and to pay attention. This is why it was a frustrating conversation because it's just like, yeah, if you want to split hairs and act like you're fucking Play-Doh or something, it's like, yeah, we could, but there are definite, whether they're empirically facts of, you could say that about all experience. It's all the same. It's all just like bleeds together. And what's the difference between any of it? But the way that you make them is different. The way that you make poetry is different than you make a movie, generally speaking. You could make either one the way that you do either, but that's all. It's also just a matter of preference. All right, let's see what the fuck Matt Taibbi is about. But so anyway, it's just like I'm sick of being around people that like literally just like their entire mode of communication and like thought is this. It's just like name dropping like Lacan and uh a bunch of shit that like I'm sure people that I went to high school with have never fucking heard of. That's not to say that it doesn't have value. I'm down to discuss it, but it's like I get probably people from a more working class background. It's like you prove these things in more pragmatic ways. It's not just like you have this sort of lingo and this kind of inside information that like you paid for. This is part of like the class differentiation. Is it's hard to interact because there's this feeling of like intellectual superiority or lack of training. Yeah, like the dude in Goodwill Hunting. Exactly. He's the fucking janitor. That's me. I'm the fucking janitor. Except I'm a retard. All right, let's see what Matt Taibbi's got going on. What's new with the controversial? He began working in the former Soviet Union. Okay, so he started in Russia. So he has inside. He's he's neither Sicilian. He went to NYU and Bard. He went to fucking Bard. That tells you everything you need to know right there. He lived in Russia and Uzbekistan. Anybody who goes to Bard is my class enemy. He wrote a book about Russia. I just want the controversy. Can we just see the controversy? Uh, he wrote about financial journalism. Okay, so he's going after the fucking scumbags. Twitter. He wrote about Twitter. Political views. Okay. He's focused increasingly on culture war and cancel culture. He also criticized mainstream media and their coverage of Donald Trump and Russian interference. So he thinks Russia interference is like bullshit. And he is thought they should have investigated. So I don't know. I can't really tell exactly. I can't really tell exactly his You can't really paint him with any kind of broad brush, I guess. But that's where we're at in the media now. That's what's so confusing about it is just like you don't really know where anybody stands. You thought Joe Rogan was just a Bernie bro, and and there are all these people that were Bernie bros are Trumpers. What? You don't say. The people who claim they would have voted for Bernie Sanders, they probably wouldn't have voted for Bernie either. God damn it. Let's just be honest. They just want to sound cool. They didn't give a fuck about Bernie. They're not socialists, okay? They're not socialists. They're libertarians, you know? We're back. And we're back. So yeah, I think we all are. We're equally annoyed by the elites, the elitist the educated, college educated white people, or, sort of culturally white. I don't know. Um, it's just obnoxious having privileged people look down on you constantly. And the thing in New York, there's no real working class solidarity. It's just the issue is completely absent. I think that's one reason why it's completely absent from just like the mass media or the national media, because there's just no presence. There's no jobs for that, so there's no unions, so there is no labor. The only people that have like labor rhetoric are like fucking people that are like going to unionize like their college or their like art museum job or whatever. It's like, I guess that's good for them, but is that just another kind of privilege? To even be educated enough to even know what a fucking union is at this point, and to know that it's good for you. It's like all the poor people have been educated against it. They want Trump, but apparently he appointed some kind of pro union labor secretary. That's what I'm hearing. He's got some kind of Soros. I heard the name Soros. How does Alex Jones feel about that? How do those people feel about that? About the Soros uh, Treasury Secretary, the former Soros. I'd say that's a big win for the left. George Soros has been underwriting my career. George Soros, why don't you underwrite some goddamn podcasts? If George Soros, if you could give me 30 grand a year, I would be unstoppable. Well, I don't know about that, but just put a little money into my YouTube page, see what happens. Can I get a Soros grant? I need some kind of Soros money. If Peter Thiel is doing it, where is like the left Peter Thiel? Are there leftist billionaires? Richard Branson? I mean, come on. There's got to be somebody. I guess they don't really let leftists have that much money. Um, apparently Jay-Z has $3 billion. We need a leftist Peter Thiel. There you go, Bruce Alliday. I was in the fucking Teamsters, for Christ's sake. Did you ever vote for the Democrats ever? Teamsters, UAW, LCSW, and Labor's International. There you go. See, those things just like don't. I mean, people aren't doing those jobs. They've trained everybody to go to college, right? They've moved all the manufacturing overseas. They're automating that shit. It's like those jobs aren't coming back. They're figuring out ways to automate it. We need to unionize the unemployed. Unionize the poets. Unionize the open micers. Local elections. There you go. Do you find that the Republicans are pro-labor generally? I guess. What about Reagan firing all the air traffic controllers? Daddy's home, everybody. Daddy's home. Trump's back, and he's ready to give everybody a spanking. I think these chicks are into that. They want somebody to tell them what to do. They want somebody to come in and choke them, choke fuck them. Pardon my language. Can I say choke fuck on YouTube? Pro business, baby. Pro business, baby. That's right. Let's get America. America, it's just insane how fucking rich this country is. And apparently, socialism does not mean government programs. Socialism means that the workers and some of it own the means of production, and it means that they own and it's basically like nationalizing companies and shit. It's not really about government programs. We could easily have that stuff here. We have so much fucking money. I think that's what's crazy about the sleight of hand of this election is it's like they're acting like they're going to slash government spending and that's going to cut waste. It's like the Democrats always balance the fucking budget. If you look at the fucking charts, when the Republicans get in power, the deficit goes berserk, as if they actually gave a fuck about that. The Republicans always act like they care about the deficit. They're always the one that are like, well, this is outrageous. This government spending is outrageous. It's like, you are the ones that run it up. Look at the facts. Not that, the right has made it the facts irrelevant. The facts don't matter. That's the advantage of being a Republican. It's like, well, you don't actually have to deal with facts. You can just believe whatever the fuck you want. Yeah, they're pro business. Because Trump is a businessman. He was on TV being a businessman, firing people and shit. Now these tariffs, we're about to see how that's going to slap us in the dick. Can't wait they're putting a tariff on Mexico. Sad, very sad. And yet we're going to save money by slashing all this wasteful government spending. How about we slash all the fucking tax abatements and tax breaks for SpaceX, all the big fat contracts for fucking Tesla. Let's start there. Cut all of the subsidies that go to that motherfucker. I guarantee you that's probably a couple $100 billion right there. It's so obvious. If they, get rid of the war machine, it is so obvious. It's the fucking Pentagon budget. It's out of control. It's absolutely absurd. There you go. Employee stock ownership. Interesting. Went chapter 11. Wow, really? GM divested. General Motors. Did you work for General Motors? I guess they make those cars in China. In China! Cheap Chinese crap! China! Yeah, so Trump's going to go and whoop everybody's ass. He's going to go and beat their ass. His pimp hand is strong. He's going to go in there and smack the shit out of everybody. They're already stopping the wars. Look, Trump hasn't even gotten in office yet. They're already stopping this war. I mean, it's a right-wing country. It's a right-wing, join the military, try to get money that way. Just you got to get rich off of pain and suffering. That seems to be America's purpose. One way or another. Monetize the suffering. make as much money off of as mass producing pain. Keep spending money. You'll get happy. It'll work. You will get happy. Eventually it will work. It's retail therapy, everybody. Just retail therapy. Like the Bluths. Just rich morons. Selling houses to Saddam Hussein. The thing about that show, it was literally true. George W. Bush had literally done all of that shit. It was happening at the time. That's what was so fucking crazy about it. Like they were buddies. House of Bush, House of Saud. They were literally like business partners. They were a bridge. The oil of Saudi Arabia and the oil of Texas. The energy. Drill, baby, drill. So it's about to get more dystopian and based for everybody. It's going to get so red pilled and based. The language has always been there, like apparently Ghislaine Maxwell is like a huge Reddit poster. She's like one of the all-time Reddit fucking like accounts ever. So it's like there's all kind of sewing right-wing edgy like a whole ecosystem of slang. So fucking based, dude. Based just kind of meant shit that could get you canceled. Based was like, oh, dude, you're saying shit that's like not woke. It's so based. You're so fucking red pilled. You watch Andrew Tate or whatever. I mean, this 4B thing is so fucking stupid. And, the dumbasses, this whole thing about your body, my choice is so fucking stupid. I just wish these idiots would shut the fuck up. Ladies, they're idiots. They don't speak for us. They don't speak for all men. They don't speak for me. That's for goddamn sure. Shame on them. I went to the Women's March. I had a pussy hat. I'm wearing my pussy hat, okay? Believe me. I'm a libtard. I voted for Hillary and Kamala. Okay? I think that should count for something. Okay? We've been fighting this war for so long now. We've been fighting Trumpism. Now these people are just coming out of the closet. What are we going to do? Somebody's got to platform some left-wing voices, for Christ's sake. And it can't just be fake Hollywood shit. It's like, the thing about Hollywood is like, it's so presenting as like this official, there's so much pageantry about how Hollywood matters and like how important it is. It's like, the thing about podcasting is it feels like some kind of militia. Feels like it's happening in some kind of militia bunker, like against that. Like Hollywood is like Washington. And we're like the Oklahoma City Unabomber of like, fuck Pelosi and fuck the fake lizard, alien Washington. Look, I guarantee you this is going to get banned. This is satirical, okay? Assertisk. Sarcasm, okay? This is sarcasm. I'm pointing out the insanity of these opinions. I'm not endorsing them, okay? Scenes from a Life does not endorse any of the things I'm saying. The opinions expressed in this video are purely hypothetical. It's cold out there. It's getting cold. I wish we hadn't talked so much about how it doesn't snow anymore. I don't actually want it to get cold. I know global warming is a bad thing, but I don't really want it to actually get cold. It's kind of nice when it's not cold out, actually. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that because that's probably what idiot Trump people think. At Mar-a-Lago. Dude, I wish I had a Mar-a-Lago. That motherfucker gets a Mar-a-Lago. That's not fair. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. I should have a Mar-a-Lago, not him. Not him. It's huge. Son of a bitch. I need a personally branded helicopter. I need a personally branded helicopter, okay, to shuttle me to the open mic. I'll land on the roof of KGB bar. My Proctor branded scenes from a life. It'll have this little cartoon on the side. That's my trademark. That's like the Jerry Lewis. You know how Jerry Lewis has like that caricature thing? I know people hate Jerry Lewis because he essayed people. He's canceled, but you know how he had that little caricature cartoon thing, that like pen and ink outline. This is my Rotcore Incorporated, subsidiary of Rotcore. I need a Rotcore helicopter. Manifesting Rotcore helicopter for my business dealing. I would never ride in a helicopter, actually. That sounds so fucking needlessly. Like Bill Graham and Stevie Ray Vaughan died in a helicopter crash. No, thank you. I don't need to go in a helicopter, you know. I'm happy to take my scooter. I'll take my e-scooter, like Job. When I watched Arrested Development the first time, I thought I was Michael. Now I see that I'm Job. As crazy as it is, that it's all there. It's all there. I'm just kind of this sleazy loser. I'm like the Fredo, or I don't know. It's Job the Fredo. He's the, it's like he's just he's a good time, easy, lazy. He's living on the boat. He kind of sucks as a magician, but he's totally full of himself, and he's got a lot of stage presence. That's the compliment people always give me is, wow, your stage presence. It's like, what the fuck? That doesn't mean anything. That's not a real compliment. Your stage presence, man, is so amazing. You didn't do anything interesting, but like your presence was powerful. Your stage presence, man. So it's all about stage presence. That counts for something, okay? It's not nothing. It's not nothing. I mean, I'm not Bo Burnham. I'm not 6'5". I can't write catchy little musical theater jingles that can capture the zeitgeist. Are people really that into Wicked? Seems more like woke agenda. I mean, I like it. I like Defying Gravity, but I'm into Idina Menzel. I thought she was great. I think Ariana Grande is. I don't know. None of these celebrities. I don't know. I try so hard to keep up with contemporary culture and like pretend like I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. I love Taylor Swift and Bo Burnham and Bill Hader and it's like, why do I even try? Like everybody else I know, if I were to put on any of that music, like when I'm making these playlists and stuff, like for the Easy Paradise thing, when I'm DJing, when I'm DJing in downtown Manhattan, I try to put like contemporary, like Sabrina Carpenter or whatever, right? But it's like if I were to put that on like around anybody that I know, they would immediately want me to shut it off. They'd be like, "What the hell is this? That sucks. Fuck this music." I mean, maybe I'm just surrounded by bitter people that are tragically hip, but so be it. That's just where I come from, and they're not wrong. But it's like, what? Phoebe Bridgers. I don't know. What is the culture? What is good? You saw this comedian on TikTok. I think his name is Zach Zucker. I thought it was kind of interesting. Um, Arrested Development. Like I said, when it first came on, I hated it. Then I think I got the DVD probably in 2007 or something, maybe after it had gone off the air, and I just kind of surrendered to it. Like I said, there's certain things like Wes Anderson has this whole aesthetic, which like kind of was perfectly realized in Tenenbaums. To be, he took it a little too far after that, but in that movie, it was kind of the perfect balance. And Arrested Development really doesn't have that kind of finish. The finish is kind of McMansion, which is the point. It's meant to look like, and it kind of presages like those Real Housewives shows. It's meant to look like, cops or something. Um, Out of the loop. Yeah, of course. Out of the loop, but I don't care. I don't. Something has gone wrong with like mainstream culture. I think that people who are looking for alternatives realize that the people who are listening to podcasts, it's like, do people really watch Fallon? I mean, the people that I know that watch, mainstream media are like boomers probably. They are the ones who watch Colbert or MSNBC, MSDNC, Maddow, Fox News, like younger people's media diet, probably podcasts, probably magazine articles for like educated people, the Atlantic, the Nation, the New Yorker, Mother Jones, High Times, uh, Out of the Loop. Yeah, I try to keep up with this stuff. I mean, I try to every time I put a Taylor Swift thing on, like people make fun of me savagely. And I was an early adopter, to be honest, at the staff Christmas party in 2009, I think it was. My brother got me Taylor Swift Fearless CD because that I was sort of outed at work as a Taylor Swift fan. She why wouldn't I be? She's tall. She looks like a fucking Abercrombie model, or at least that was sort of like the backstory. At that time, she was still kind of country. I was like into that. I was like into the fact that she was like this blonde. I had like this I lived in the middle of a cornfield. What else was there to fantasize about? People looked like that out there. They looked like sorority, nightmare, Big Ten school, state school. Taylor Swift, she tries so hard to be like, she bought a house in Rhode Island. She tries so hard to be like this kind of elite, dark academia, like hipster. She works with Bon Iver or whatever, but she's like state school. I mean, she didn't go to college. She's generational. She didn't need college, but I don't know. Does she? She doesn't strike me as somebody who would go to like RISD necessarily. I could be wrong. Seth MacFarlane went to RISD. Maybe Taylor Swift would go to Pratt. I don't know. She'd probably. Well, part of her appeal in the early era. Sorry, I've got people tuning out. See, I'm not a. This is what I mean. It's like it just was like sincere. Taylor Swift was something that like I liked. I'm like her. I'm like a corny English major who's like into the high school romance nerd, and she's got like a way with words. She's like a really good, corporate sort of, mom figure that would like write you like a really piercing kind of like insightful card for your birthday or something. She's got intuition, she's got magic. And so it's like, why wouldn't I like this? I don't know. Because it's terrible corporate music that's forced down our throats. Or, like just everything that people like have affection for. Backstreet Boys, In Sync. It's like I hated all of it. I still hate all of it. It's so corporate, it's so fake. I don't really like rap. I'm not into the Limp Bizkit comeback. I didn't think it was cool at the time. I'm glad Diddy got his just desserts. If he doesn't get a pardon, some kind of cabinet appointment, Diddy he'll probably get pardoned, and he'll be appointed like secretary of. I made this joke already. Secretary of baby oil. Get the baby oil. Sean Puffy Combs has been exonerated by the Supreme Court of the United States of America. Get the Hype Williams video. Get the comeback album. Ted Nugent retired? Really? Does his hearing go out or something? I can't imagine that motherfucker would go willingly. It has to be some kind of health thing. Wow, the gods have smiled upon us today. Huzzah! This is the best news I've heard in like years. There's no way this is true. This cannot be true. Ted Nugent retirement reaction video. I'm filming a reaction video right now. This is the greatest. No, I don't think so. It says he announces his final tour. Adios Mofo 23. That's a Nugent. Nugent, my buddy who is like a Trumper, crypto bro, Elon Musk worshiper. Like Ted Nugent is like his hero. He's like his hero god. This is audio. We are breaking this. Okay, this is breaking. Thank you, Bruce Halliday. Did you get this from Rolling Stone? Thank you, Bruce Halliday. Oh well, I guess it's April 13th, 23. Huh. So this is almost 2 years old. So what the fuck? How come I'm not getting news about Ted Nugent's retirement? He will always play. Hold on, I do want to get this quote. Let's just get it straight from the horse's ass. The point, to be honest, Ted Nugent is an incredibly charismatic speaker. He's like Roth. He's just one of these motor mouth, and he just has a million kind of memorable turns of phrase. Like I remember he was on VH1 reality shows. I've seen a lot of Ted Nugent. I'm from Ohio. Like Ted Nugent, like casts unfortunately a large shadow over the region. He's the Motor City Madman. I don't know if he's as famous in other places, but I suppose he is. But in that area, he's like really famous. And he's one of the few rock stars. It's like every year they would do this wing zing. QFM 96 would do this wing zing. And I actually had a falling out with my buddy who was like a MAGA person in 2000. And this is what was like broke our band apart. Actually, this was like the final straw of like our friendship. This was really what broke our band apart. Was my friend had tickets to this Ted Nugent concert. And it was like the QFM 96, like July 4th, like wing zing. So like Ted Nugent would come to Columbus every fucking year. And apparently he puts on like an incredible show. Like nothing, against like a lot of right wing people have a lot of showmanship because he fires guns on stage and like he's got a lot of energy. And apparently, he is like an incredible guitar player in his own way, I think. He's the Motor City Madman. He's an articulate person. So I imagine that transfers to his guitar playing. I don't really know that many Ted Nugent songs. Of course, I know Cat Scratch Fever and Great White Buffalo. That was like my buddy's go-to was Great White Buffalo. It's like these hyper arpeggios. I like the Amboy Dukes, kind of. They were like part of Nuggets, but knowing that Ted Nugent is like this right-wing fuckface kind of ruins it. But that's, to be honest, that's an important part of rock and roll. There's always these kind of weird right-wing libertarian type nut jobs that are part of the kind of milieu. That's part of the rebel yell and the kind of like I don't know, separatist freedom of it or something, like rebellion. That is like, how Confederate is rock and roll. All those guys were from the fucking South, how fucking segregated and is it really? That might be at the heart of it to some degree. Is rock and roll just a minstrel show, basically? And so Ted Nugent is on his way out. This is Adios Mofo. This is my last tour. Now, I'll always play music. I've got new records I'm going to make. I can't wait to unleash some of these new songs. I've got an instrumental called Butterfingers that is just greasy. You can't eat barbecue ever again adequately without the song Butterfingers playing loud next to your brisket. See, that's what I'm saying. He's a cult leader. He's like a fucking charismatic. He's like Trump. The point being is, thank you, everybody, for an incredible musical dream. The musical dream will continue, but I'm not going on tour anymore because hotels are jail. This is why he's not going on tour. Because a hotel is jail. A hotel room is jail for me. My dogs won't allow me to spend a day with them, so my dogs will go on the road with me this year. But the logistics are just too complicated when you have dogs and grandkids and kids and so many other things. The point is, the American dream is a soundtrack. And with my unbelievable musicians for 65 years, 65 years, I've created the most fun, titillating, centrally stimulating soundtrack in the history of the world. Okay, that's a little Trumpian hyperbole, I would say. They're cut from the same cloth. They're just, they're alpha. Like last year in 2022, Detroit Muscle. This will be the greatest, most intense, tightest, most dynamic, outrageously fun tour of my life. But adios, mofo. So hotel rooms are jail. I doubt if that's a real reason. He probably is like got some kind of disease or. All right, I'm not going to read any more of these fucking press releases. These Ted Nugent press releases. No way. Performing my killer songs with this killer band for these killer music loving audiences every night is an indescribable. My friend was telling me they used to have an email exchange with Ted Nugent, and apparently this article does not reflect this, but apparently every email he would write in response was all caps. Everything was all caps. These are not all caps, but they should be probably. Are Trump's tweets all caps? They kind of feel all caps. They go hard in that way. Every song has a life of its own, and the spirit and energy of each night is off the charts, stimulating on all human levels and beyond. All right, that's enough of this shit. So I don't know. He hates hotels, apparently. Hotels are jail when he's on the road with his dogs. I think that's bullshit. I think that's a fucking cover story, man. He's not man enough to admit it. Ted Nugent is selling signed deer skulls. What an asshole. Well, let's see what the Wikipedia article says. Theodore Anthony Nugent. Yikes. Uncle Ted, the Nuge, and the Motor City Madman. So anyway, he did this concert at the Wing Zing. This was probably 2006, maybe somewhere in there, 5, 6, and I just didn't go. I don't know. It was sort of my bitchy way of giving them the cold shoulder, but it was also like it was a Ted Nugent concert. It wasn't hard to say no to. Apparently it was incredible. He had all kind of automatic weapons right on stage with him, and he'd go over and they were on apparently they were on stands. So he could just go and shoot the automatic weapon at any time. I'm not sure. They were probably blanks, but who knows? And apparently, it was loud. Yeah, he plays at Gibson Birdland. Oh, yeah, I do like Damn Yankees. I do like that song, High Enough or whatever it is. The Secret Service investigated him based on his comments about Barack Obama. He probably said he was going to shoot Obama or something. I probably shouldn't say that on YouTube, but that's probably going to get me banned. That was a reference. I'm quoting Wikipedia. YouTube algorithm. I'm quoting Wikipedia. That was not a literal. Do not take that literally, please. His draft status. He never served in the military, Ted. Why not? You came of age during the height of Vietnam. Didn't you want to serve your country, Ted? You were too busy getting laid and playing guitar, jacking off. Why weren't you in Vietnam, Ted? You're such a fucking gun nut. You're so psyched about guns. Who knows why, but apparently he's too annoying for the army. He's crazy. I get it. He's a fucking crazy person. Of course they wouldn't take him. He's just an asshole. He's always been an asshole. What was that? I love the VH1 supergroup show with that guy who was married to Tara Patrick. It wasn't Vinnie Paul. It was like Ted Nugent. I think it was Jason Bonham. Skid Row. Yeah, here it is. Supergroup. Scott Ian, Evan Seinfeld from Biohazard. He was like the more contemporary band. Skid Row singer Sebastian Bach, Jason Bonham. I did watch that show. I hate to say that's what I was doing when I was 21 years old in 2006. I was watching Supergroup. I was a sucker for all those like 80s recast as like reality show. Like I watched the Brett Michaels fucking Rock of Love shit. I watched Surreal Life with the Flavor Flav shit. Oh, there's a whole Wikipedia entry about Ted Nugent's acting career. Relationships with teenage girls. Nugent's 1981 song Jailbait describes having sex with a 13-year-old girl. Once again, Wikipedia, I'm reading this. He admitted to several affairs with underage girls in a Behind the Music episode. Musician Courtney Love claims that she performed oral sex on Ted Nugent when she was 12. Wow. Wow. Holy shit. That is fucking nuts. On a later occasion, she said she was 14. That is absolutely. He should be in jail. If I was president, Ted Nugent would be in jail. We're putting Ted Nugent in a hotel room. You think a hotel room is jail, Ted Nugent? Way to go to real jail. It's not like a hotel. Let me tell you that. It's not as nice as those fucking 4-star hotels you've been staying in with your dogs. Okay, real jails. You're not going to be getting any blowjobs from Courtney Love. Okay, not quite. Ted Nugent began a relationship with 17-year-old Hawaii native. They could not marry due to age difference. To get around this, Nugent joined Massa's parents in signing documents to make himself her legal guardian. A few rock stars have done that, but I mean, Ted Nugent is the worst. I mean, he definitely should pay. Him and Steven Tyler. Okay. Nugent suffers from hearing loss. He said in a 2007 interview, I know all my YouTube subscribers love the Nuge. The ear's not too good, especially with background noise, but that's a small price to pay. Believe me, the journey was worth it. Believe me, the journey was worth it. He's a supporter of former President Donald Trump. Well, hey, we need to correct Ted Nugent's Wikipedia article. He's no longer a former president, okay? He's made a number of statements critical of former President Barack Obama. He endorsed Joe Arpaio. There you go. Animal rights, Jesus Christ. Civil rights. Nugent's views have been considered racist. Nugent said apartheid isn't that cut and dry. Holy shit. All men are not created equal, he said. He described black South Africans as a different breed of man who still put bones in their noses. They still walk around naked. They wipe their butts with their hands. You just described yourself, man. Look at your album cover, for Christ's sake. Look at the album cover for fucking Cat Scratch Fever. You're literally like in a fucking loincloth. Wow. He appeared on the Political Cesspool, a white nationalist radio show. I'm beginning to wonder if it would have been the best had the South won the Civil War. I probably shouldn't read this, but this is going to get banned anyway. So I don't know. I probably shouldn't do this. No. Uh, this is all just factual reporting. Okay. This is like Democracy Now. Okay. I'm a citizen journo. I'll take you to the Supreme Court, okay? If you ban my fucking YouTube page, I will take you to the goddamn Supreme Court. I swear to God. I swear to fucking Christ. Proctor versus YouTube. We will take this to the highest court in the land, and I will win because it's stacked with Trump psycho fucking free speech absolutists, who I think will be sympathetic to my cause. I would never like. I mean, I'm not a Trumper. This is insane, and I'm completely anti-fa. I'm anti-fa. Probably shouldn't say that on the internet. But I think for some reason Trump people like me. All of my friends are Trump people. Not all of them. Not all of them. Not all of them. Not all of them. But some of them. Enough that it's like, I don't know, what the fuck? We don't see eye to eye politically in any way, shape, or form. That's part of the friendship is debating politics constantly, constantly talking about world, like Bruce Holiday. We don't necessarily agree on everything, but I definitely like to know what people are thinking. And, their point of view is just as valid. That's what a democracy is. And so like let's hear what the fuck they have to say. And debating, I don't know. Maybe you'll change somebody's mind. I don't know. Or at least like you're fucking engaging. Okay, I don't need to read any more of these heinous fucking Ted Nugent quotes. Ted Nugent praised Trump's 2016. Oh my God. His dream, my dream would be if Ted Cruz became president tonight. I really admire Ted Cruz. He loves Ted Cruz. Oh yeah, he went to the White House. He was like one of the first people at the White House after Trump got elected the first time. Wow. Well, I hope I don't get a YouTube strike because of Ted Nugent. That would really suck. Free for all, double live Gonzo. I mean, he does have great intensities in 10 cities. Is like a great album title. He's got great album titles. Penetrator. He's just celebrating masculinity at its most raw. And so what's wrong with that? It's part of the spectrum. I mean, it's the extreme. It doesn't say anything about how he's retired. What the fuck, man? Is he retired or what? Talks about his acting career, for Christ's sake. Well, okay. The logistics are just too complicated in reference to being away from his dogs and grandchildren. Hotel rooms are jail, man. Hotel rooms are jail. I can't they won't let me have my guns. They won't let me have my crossbows and shit. They won't let me cure my deer hide. I can't cure my beef jerky. Fuck these hotels. These woke hotels. These fucking woke hotels won't let Ted Nugent fucking keep his dogs. I'm sorry, that is like the most boomer fucking reason. Fucking these hotels, it's just too hard. It's too hard. My fucking grandchildren, my dogs. With my crossbows and my automatic weapons. It's all the ammunition and the guns, the grandchildren, the deer skulls. The camo. Oh my God. Oh yeah, laugh it up, laugh it up. He'll be back in the White House next spring, I guarantee it. Ted Nugent will be Secretary of the Interior. Yeah, this will be really funny. When we're all being exterminated in camps in the year 2028. When the accelerationists have accelerated the eugenics program. Got rid of all the ugly people. Got rid of all the ugly fat people. I'm sorry. This is anything I put in air quotes. YouTube, if the algorithm is listening, anything I'm using air quotes, I'm activating sarcasm, okay? I don't endorse any of these wild theories. You can't talk about the state of the world without talking about these are definite, they're no longer hypotheticals, okay? It's all on the table. Aliens, all of it. Ted Nugent is fucking Secretary of the Interior, baby. I'm calling it right now. These fucking hotels, man. They're like jails. I can't just, the logistics of my grandchildren, fucking, I'm trying to go on this white supremacist podcast. But I'm stuck in this fucking La Quinta Inn, this Quality Inn and Suites. It's a fucking prison. I'm so wild. You don't like it, Ted. You don't like it. Sleep in a fucking tent, you son of a bitch. You love the outdoors so much. How about you sleep in a fucking teepee? How about you build your own fucking shelter, you asshole? You don't like RVs? Like you're a hunter. Where the fuck are you sleeping when you're like out in the great outdoors and shit in Michigan? I guess he's probably got a bunch of land. He's probably got thousands of acres of fucking like pristine Michigan where he can fucking kill animals and do whatever kind of weird shit he does with them. God knows. God knows what Ted Nugent has done with animals. If he adopted a fucking 13-year-old, if he got oral sex from Courtney Love when she was not even a fucking, I'm not going to repeat it, but he's a wild man. Okay, it's just part of his persona. Has he been to Epstein's Island? God War. Put me in the White House. Put God War in the White House. Put Raw Dog in the White House. It's Raw Dog backwards. I didn't know what Raw Dog meant when I heard that joke the first time. I did not know the true meaning of Raw Dog. It's not really an appropriate joke to repeat. Yeah. In case you're just now joining us, Trump, breaking news, Trump has appointed the Motor City madman Ted Nugent, Uncle Ted, the Nuge, has retired. He used to have wild boar hunting trips on his property. There you go. Wild boars. Yeah, see, I'm sure he's killed the motherfucking things with all kind of weapons. He's cooked them. He's skinned them alive. He's probably fucked them. Let's be honest. This stream's gonna get taken down anyway. It's no holds bar. You're witnessing history. I'm gonna have to archive this before YouTube has a chance to pull it. I really shouldn't joke about YouTube pulling stuff down. That's only gonna be suggestive. That's only gonna pique the algorithm's suspicion, which I don't want to do. I'm a good YouTuber. I'm in good standing. I'm not like these other. Look at Logan. The psychos are the most powerful. It's all the most psychotic, dangerous people that get the most views. Mr. Beast or Mr. Based or Jake Paul, Logan Paul, white supremacist Logan Paul with his Mike Tyson humiliation ritual. Apparently that's signifying, some kind of cultural shift. Bullshit. Why does YouTube platform those people? If anything, they should be giving me a fucking boost. They're lucky I'm spreading my goddamn information on here. Am I convincing you? The guy said something about how I didn't have enough conviction in my poetry or something, which I thought was kind of condescending and insulting for somebody that just like met you. It's like, oh, suddenly now I got to like defend my whole fucking like existence to you. Like, no, thank you. Um, and it's like I just finished fucking hosting this open mic. Now I got to spend all this mental energy like convincing this guy that like some kind of arcane fucking uh I'm trying to think of a turn of phrase. Six of one, half a dozen of another kind of thing. Six of one, half a dozen of another. Well, it would be nice if New York had some levity. I mean, you find that the working class people are the immigrants and they are the people that kind of live in the boroughs. There are still people who are bartenders or waiters or, there's service industry here because that's what income inequality. There's a billionaire class, there's a wealthy class of people who can just afford to throw their credit card at any fucking problem and Uber their ass home or whatever they're going to do. And they've got these pricey educations that are part of the point is to differentiate them and to weed out the poor people. And to some degree that is what like a lot of woke politics are. I think it's unfair to brand it with this term that's sort of like an African American derived term because woke politics is an umbrella for like a lot of different points of view and coalitions. And to be honest, in the context they're talking about, it isn't necessarily African American people that are like enforcing it or something. It's like they're acting like it's some powerful thing, and it's like, well, a lot of it is these kind of already elitist, wealthy people that like can afford to split hairs and be super picky, and they're accustomed to doing that. A lot of times, that's one thing that separates working people from people that advance is people that advance, have a sense of entitlement. Working people are agreeable, they're willing to be subjugated or do things, that they feel like are uh, helping or harder or things that punish your body or something. Like if you're picky, if you're a Karen, if you're willing to send your order back, or if you're, demanding, if you have attention to detail, these are things that can be rewarded. But it's usually wealthy people that have the luxury to be able to do that. I feel like, um, poor people, it's like you got to do what your boss says. It's not about your fucking pronouns. It's about like we're paying you 750 an hour. We own you. You have to do anything we tell you because it's a job. And like that's, priority number one is like, oh, we're giving you a job. It's like you should be grateful that we're giving your poor ass a job. I'm rich, I can do whatever the fuck I want and like berate you that you don't understand Roland Barth or pronouns or whatever it is. It's like I don't know. They got it's just they're not obsessed with that shit. It's not part of their fucking it's once again it's a way to differentiate, you know, and to make it difficult for those two levels to interact. Keeps the slave class, the rabble, you know, uh out on the fucking porch. And these universities and that it's all a finishing school, and it's all a way of sifting people kind of socially, giving you some kind of like pedigree as a human being, I guess. Credential wherever you went to school is some kind of like stamp of like, oh, you're grade A, you're USDA grade A, you went to fucking Columbia, you went to Harvard, you went to Yale, you went to Pratt, you went to FIT, whatever the fuck. That shit costs money, you know? That's why we have this student it's interesting that this student debt crisis has also exploded at the same time as the wealth inequality, because it's like that traditionally has been your way out, right? If you're a poor person, you go to college if you're lucky, if you can, and that's like, that's how you rise into the white collar class or whatever. Your dream is to, like, pay for your kids' college, right? I gotta have enough money to pay for my kids' college education so they can do better than I did, or so they're safe or whatever. Now it's like you're sunk financially if you go to college. There's huge You're automatically in the hole. You're automatically coming out wounded. And so it's like a risk to try to get into that higher class, or it's just a way of kind of handcuffing your social mobility. If you wanted to rise, well, it's like, no, you've got $200,000 in student loan debt, or if you're rich, then you don't. If you're rich, you're not handicapped in that way. It's just like you can go get as many fucking MFAs as you want, get as many. Apparently, a PhD is free in a lot of places, but uh, I don't know. It's all rigged. It seems at this point. Ted Nugent retired. What have we got? What do we got left? Um, okay, 2 hours and 30 minutes. Maybe I'll do till 1 a.m. or something. I don't know, because I'm probably not going to do another live because it's Thanksgiving and I will be uh, visiting with family and friends and whatnot. But gosh, I hope this doesn't get taken down. Thank you guys for watching. Is there anything else you need to talk about? Any other big stories or news? I mean, I do need to do another stream where we blew it, Billy. We blew it. Now I know what they meant in Easy Rider when they say we blew it. It's because Nixon got elected. That's how I feel. I feel like we blew it. We blew it, Billy. Trump got reelected. The silent majority includes, I mean, Anna and Dasha's whole fucking thing has been like wannabe WASP, wannabe preppy, like American Psycho, the whole fucking MAGA, Dime Square, Sov House. It's all very American Psycho coded. Those people are like proud of it. They wear that proudly. That they're like these rich, white, WASP, tall, cut, chiseled, Sigma. And now I don't know, they're like weirdly becoming proud of it. It's just creepy. But I guess it's always been there. I mean, that's what American Psycho is about. It's about kind of this white supremacist WASP, 1% culture that is like very exclusionary and very racist and very uh, sadistic. You know, getting off on the pain and blood and literal body harm to others. All right, I'll get off at 1 a.m. So I'll do 5 more minutes. it's just kind of sad that Manhattan is like this. There's government housing and things, so that it's not entirely without like an underclass, but um, there's just no perspective considering all these powerful people live there and kind of have this lifestyle, and they're just kind of jumping around this like kind of like bubble. It is a bubble, right? I mean, everywhere is its own little bubble, but um it's just kind of frustrating to no end that there's just like this condescending kind of wealth that operates like in their own kind of private. It's like this gated community. It's like the whole city has become the fucking meatpacking district or some kind of like club or something where it's just like everybody Ubers around, orders food. They don't want to engage with you. Well, I don't know. The open mics are a great thing, and I'm having a blast in that world and would want to get out more and be more a part of it. And there's a lot more to be done. I think we're only beginning to, now more than ever, it's like communication, artistic communication, uh, gathering, solidarity, mutual support, lifting up, important voices, telling the truth. There's a lot of people in Manhattan. I don't know if this is true in other cities as much. I guess it probably is, but they're like wealthy. They all look like Hayden Christensen and fucking Attack of the Clones. They look like dark Anakin Skywalker, and they they want to be edgy. It's like the Red Scare people. It's always been about what's like the most troll thing we can do. What's gonna just piss people off the most. It's like, oh yeah, we're really pro Trump now. It's like cool to be pro Trump amongst like these hot Manhattanites, downtown New York, all that whole Dime Square thing. It's like it's very cultivated. It's elite people cultivating and gentrifying Chinatown, frankly. That's right in the middle of Chinatown. And it's just like it's all these Twitter obsessed. I mean, that was something that they were like criticizing. I was looking at some Reddit threads. They were criticizing Anna, whatever her name is, Kay, as being a Twitter addict. And she's like caught in this like Twitter, uh, like myopic kind of like mirror reflection or whatever. And so it's like a lot of everything she mentions is like Twitter, 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 somebody on Twitter, some kind of niche edge lord. A lot of these fucking people are on Twitter. A lot of the alt lit people, and that I've never been to Sovereign House. I remember hearing about it. That shit has always creeped me out. That was something with Red Scare and the dirtbag left and the whole Dime Square thing the whole time that I was like, I'm not necessarily sure that I'm cut out for this. I'm not like some bitchy anorexic Nazi, like I'm not a libertarian, like I'm not even a Bernie bro to be honest. Like I'm like a fucking uh I don't know. I'm a democratic socialist, I guess. I'm like a New Deal guy, whatever that was. Bring that back. Just don't call it that. Don't call it the Green New Deal. Come up with a new name. Don't just use old names. It's kind of a lazy. We've got to figure out a way to like make innovation work again. Original ideas. Like the left was supposed to be the side that comes up with cool shit and makes it cool. And it's like that's the thing about wokeness that people don't like is it just feels forced. Like Jaguar's really gonna like force this rebrand. Like it just feels like what? This is Jaguar. They're clearly like jumping on, like does this represent is this organic to like the Jaguar people, like or whatever a Jaguar is? Like, no, this is clearly like some kind of weird pivot that like is completely disingenuous and who knows what the fucking motive like what market are they tapping into with that? I'm not sure. Maybe people that went to Bard or whatever, any of these places fill in Oberlin, or I don't know who is that targeted for the woke Jaguar campaign. I mean maybe I'm just an idiot. I guess it's people that listen to NPR, Jane Lynch people or in any case, thank you for watching. Happy Thanksgiving. Watch, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Watch Arrested Development. It's truer than ever. But it like in a weird way, it's like I feel like it's not considered a classic or something. Like people know Seinfeld, people like worship Curb Your Enthusiasm. I don't necessarily hear anybody talk about Arrested Development very much. I think maybe the later seasons have kind of ruined the brand or like the reputation. I didn't see either of them. I'm kind of curious to just look at them to just see what they're like, but there's just no way they could have recaptured that. It was just too complicated. There just had to have been too many strands working on that to like really to make that and it was also responding to the era. I mean, it was just so tied to Iraq and Bush and all that that it's just like that's part of what kept it having this sense of excitement and kind of challenging itself. But what else? Let me just check my movies real fast, see if there's any other recommendations. We didn't really watch. We watched this movie about Abby Hoffman steal this movie with because Michael Cera was in it. It's like one of his first movies. He was like Michael Cera is really good in Arrested Development. I mean, he is amazing in Arrested Development, and he's young. He's like fucking 12 or something, but he's in this goddamn movie about Abby Hoffman. He's like probably 5 years old. I mean, he's very young, but he's good in that. Even it was kind of a corny movie, but the fact that they even made a movie about Abby Hoffman is like I don't know. I guess Aaron Sorkin did that fucking movie about Abby Hoffman. I guess it's a cliche. It's like they made this whole fucking movie about Abby Hoffman, and they didn't include Ed Sanders or Julie Kupferberg or it's like they always put fucking Jerry Rubin. It's like they didn't even have Allen Ginsberg in it. They made a whole fucking movie about Abby Hoffman. It's like they didn't even have Allen Ginsberg as a character. It was kind of like I Shot Andy Warhol a little bit. It was okay, but you can tell it was like a product of kind of the Clinton 90s. It was a pre 9/11 when they may have celebrated somebody like that. I didn't see the Chicago 7 movie. Maybe we'll watch that, but they should make a movie about Ed Sanders or the fact that he wasn't even they did a scene where they levitated the Pentagon. It's like that was an Ed Sanders thing. That was, the thugs. I don't know. In any case, you saw Abby Hoffman speak. That's pretty cool at Monmouth University in the early 80s. Wow. I mean, he's an example of a left-wing charismatic leader, something that is like lacking. And I remember when I was a kid, we had Steele this book. We had it at our house, and it was crazy. It was all about how to fucking live for free, basically, how to get free shit, how to find an apartment. There were just like chapters in it. Like, here's how you find a place to live for free. Here's how you get furniture. Here's how you get clothes. Here's how you get food. To be honest, I related to that stuff a lot more than anything I've seen politically come from people my age. I still kind of believe that stuff. Like, try to make shit as cheap as possible for people. It seemed like a pretty good goal to me. Get like a sense of abundance for as many fucking people as possible. Like, it's the point is not stealing the book. The point is like making it free. The point is like destroying the labor capitalist relation. The fact that you have to sell your body, sell your time to be able to buy the fucking book. But it's about the war in Vietnam. I guess Hollywood is like enamored with Abby Hoffman. But there's other people from that era they could make movies about. It was okay. Vincent D'Onofrio, it was kind of Hollywood Oscar bait bullshit. Janine Garofalo was really good in it, but uh, it was sort of like the Basketball Diaries or something. It was like kind of reaching for like these like, do you love Barry Freed or do you love Abby Hoffman? He's in a throuple, so it's kind of ahead of its time in that way. He's in a throuple with Gene Tripplehorn and Janine Garofalo. So he's a scumbag, basically. Well, I don't know. It's, it's political and it was committed. That's, I just thought it'd be easy to watch and, just put it on. I didn't pay that much attention to it. It wasn't really that worth paying that much attention to. It was okay, for like, an easy watch that's sort of like slightly, I don't know, educational, or maybe there's something inspiring about it. When I was a kid, my mom and Dave had steal this book. Weirdly enough, I haven't watched The Drop yet. I will watch it over Thanksgiving though. I've got it on my list. We only watched one movie this weekend, and it was this fucking Abby Hoffman movie. Literally, we watched Arrested Development the whole fucking weekend. Um, we may have watched something Friday night. What the fuck did we watch Friday night? But my mom and my dad and Susan had Abby Hoffman came out with this book in the 80s that was all about drug tests, how to pass a drug test. And I think it was called Steal This Urine or something. It was like a pun on Steal This Book, but it was like Steal This Piss or something. Let's see what it was called. Steal This Urine Test. Fighting drug hysteria in America. And the reason why we had it was because my dad's girlfriend was trying to get a job and she had to pass a drug test. And so, I don't know, it's sort of like an example of like hippies going straight, hip to be square. It's like an example of like, you know, we did all the excess in the 60s and 70s, but in the 80s and 90s, we got to figure out how to pass a piss test so we can get this corporate job in Reagan's America. Growing up at 40, there you go. Did they all become fucking uh like yuppies? Did the yippies become yuppies? Did the hippies become yuppies? I suppose they kind of did. Ben and Jerry's ice cream. Steal this drug test. Steal this urine test. Fighting drug hysteria in America. Yeah, and there's a picture of Abby Hoffman on the front with like a piss test, and he's like smiling. It's like, yeah. That was my image of Abby Hoffman as a kid. Middle-aged yuppie. Steal this urine test. Well, there you go. There's some more medical. It's on Internet Archive if anybody wants to check it out. Yeah, so there you go, everybody. The history of America. This is our ongoing history class. The history of the underground in America from 1776 to present. Thank you for watching, my dedicated viewer. Two people. Thank you for Hopefully this doesn't get blocked. If it does get blocked, I'm gonna appeal it. But I think we get. Thank you for bringing up Ted Nugent. I think that was a very appropriate for Thanksgiving. Somehow Ted Nugent feels like a Thanksgiving thing. White people with guns, Protestants on the Mayflower, right? The Mayflower is like some kind of weird distinction. It's like the ultimate like flex. Like, oh, my family came around the Mayflower. It's like, what? What does that mean? Does that actually mean anything? That makes you like number one if your family came over on the fucking Mayflower? That's right. Abby Hoffman's kid was named America, man. America Hoffman, man. That's why I like those. They're kind of clown figures, you know. He wears this American flag shirt, and he's kind of like this. Yeah, man. We're gonna throw dollar bills at the fucking stock exchange, man. You know, that was sort of like a January 6th thing. Like the left needs to figure out how to do that again. Where's Abby Hoffman? He'd probably be the QAnon shaman. If Abby Hoffman was alive today, he'd probably be a MAGA. He probably would have been at January 6th. They're trying to stop free speech, man. We need Elon Musk to buy Twitter. We got to protect our First Amendment rights. They're trying to force us to get these. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they had a lot of drugs. Smoked a lot of weed. Yeah, they were inspirational heroes, you know. I mean, the Steal This movie was not great, but hey, at least it's gotten the conversation. At least we're talking about it. You know, now it's like, I don't know if the left has anybody like that. You know, the left is uncool. Everybody who's like, South Park, oh, the liberals suck. Even Andrew Callahan, it's like he hates the fucking Democrats. Like Shane Gillis hates the Democrats. Like what the fuck? Yeah, 68 Democratic. Well, it's like, yeah, how are you gonna make a movie about 68 Democratic convention and not have Allen Ginsberg in it? He was right there on the front lines. Ed Sanders was there, I think. Like, it's just weird that they keep making movies about that in particular moment. That trial of the Chicago 7 or whatever. I'll have to watch it and see what the hubbub is all about. But all right, I'm gonna eat my cherry sticks. Thank you guys for watching. God bless you. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Uh, you know, don't let them take your guns. John Sinclair, there you go. Yeah, I think John Sinclair, all those guys. Chicago 68 was like this convergence of all the fucking. It's just so weird they chose the Democratic convention. Like, what? And they beat the fuck out of them all at the Democratic convention. It's like, that's almost like now. Like, let's go protest the Democrats. It's like, why? Go protest Nixon, man. Like, what the fuck? I guess because it was Chicago, it was like in the middle of the country, they could all kind of converge there. But I'm not that much of a student of it. I've read a little bit about it here and there through various kind of poetry, right? Because it is like this kind of weird poetry. Allen Ginsberg was like chanting mantras, I guess, for like hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And like I said, I think Ed Sanders was there. I don't know the whole story, but I'm sure that he's written about it. He's got a book, 1968, which I read. Ed Sanders has this great history of America, the 20th century in America. He's got a three-volume series that's really kind of amazing. It's hard to get now. It's Black Sparrow Press. I saw it at Unnameable the other day. It was like $55 for the set of three. But then he's got another volume, 1968, which is sort of a companion to that in the same style. And it's just about that 1 year. And it's investigative poetics where it's like facts, fact based chronology. It's like a calendar kind of. Ed Sanders was like a Greek scholar at NYU. He like speaks Greek and he's read all that shit. So his sense of like breath, it's very like Olson and his sense of the line. And so he has these kind of like stanza pools of like facts and information that are like chronological. He's written a number of books in that style, that Chekhov biography, that the life and times of Allen Ginsberg is like his biography of Allen Ginsberg that's written in that style. And to be honest, it's really influenced my style a lot, actually. If you look at a lot of my poems have these kind of like island stanza things. And the fact that he's just kind of fact based, he's kind of an objectivist and he writes about history in a very kind of like literal way, like he's a historian. He doesn't always amp it up into like this kind of, poetry, I don't know, like confessional religious realm. It's like he makes the facts kind of concise and musical, but very readable and very like you can just kind of cruise through these books, and they're educational because you're learning about this sort of alternate history, almost like Howard Zinn or something. He's a socialist. He's a poet. He's not your typical, establishment historian or something. So I don't exactly remember. I got to get his book about Charles Manson. He wrote a whole book where like he went to the trial and shit. So like he really immersed himself in the Manson thing. I've never read that. It was a little bit more of like a popular kind of paperback, but I'm curious about that. But I think that's a good thing for poets to do. That's it influenced a lot of what I do, to be honest. The way I kind of report on my life is the way that Ed Sanders kind of reports on, these years or whatever. Just kind of trying to recite factual occurrence in kind of like plain epiphany kind of like occurrences. All right. Well, anyway, maybe I'll do 3 hours. I got 3 minutes left to 3 hours, so I'll just do an even 3 hours. Why the hell not? Um, yeah, but Ed Sanders was literally part of that, so that's kind of interesting element. He was just at a fucking event that I filmed the other day. I filmed this Jerome Rothenberg. It was the day after the election, and fucking Ed Sanders was there with his dulcimer. It looked like a broomstick. I just figured Ed Sanders was just so old that he wasn't gonna show up. I thought they were gonna do a video for sure. But there were a few hipsters there that were just there to see Ed Sanders. I guess because of the Fugs. But I like Ed Sanders. I mean, I would say his work has been pretty influential on me, but I'm not necessarily like a fanboy of him or something. I'm not that, you know, not that he doesn't deserve, kind of a respect and a cultural, but in New York especially, there's people that are kind of like awed by him or something. It's like he's an amazing person, but I don't know. No disrespect. Who am I? I'm just a fucking who am I? I'm an upstart crow. Just a snot nosed punk. Uh, well, anyway, thank you guys for watching. Secondly, all right, is there anything else I need to check it? Go back to the beginning. This has been an epic stream. We had reaction videos. Uh, Bruce Halliday was a sophomore in high school in 1968. That's pretty cool. It's a good time for music. I think my dad was a sophomore in high school. 52? Were you born in 52? Sounds about right. Interesting. All right. Well, here we are. We're approaching 3 hours. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Yeah, my dad was a sophomore in 68. That's interesting. So you're the same age as my dad. All right. Thank you for watching. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. God bless us and God bless America. God bless America.